The night drapes itself around you like a silken shawl, cool and weightless, pressing you gently into the stillness that holds all things. Your breath settles into a slow rhythm, matching the silent pulse of the earth beneath you. No line separates your mind from the darkness. You are both observer and observed, drifting in the space between thought and release. You follow a narrow path beneath ancient pines whose needles whisper secrets as the breeze passes. Each footstep is an echo of countless pilgrim feet. Yet here, in this moment, you are entirely alone. You pause where a single lantern hangs from a low branch, its pale flame flickering like a distant star, trying to burn through fog. The lantern is a teaching in itself. Nothing remains the same. Not the wind's touch, not the flame shape, not your own presence. Impermanence moves through every form, every breath, reminding you that to cling is to suffer, and to release is to find peace. A monk with a weathered robe and gentle eyes waits beside a low bench of stone. He holds an empty cup carved from a single piece of wood, smooth as river-worn stone. Wordlessly, he lifts it to you, offering the hollow space within. You take the cup and feel the weight of possibility, the pause between filling and emptying. In that void, there is everything and nothing. The teaching of no self emerges here. The cup has no essence apart from its emptiness, just as you have no fixed self apart from the flow of awareness itself. As you sit beside him, the monk begins to sweep the ground with a simple broom, each stroke a quiet inquiry into the nature of attention. Leaves drift down, landing on the path he has just cleared, and he brushes them away, only to let them fall again, trusting in the cycle of gathering and releasing. You realize that your thoughts are like those leaves. They come without invitation, and they leave whether you ask or not. Your task is not to stop them, but to notice them and let them fall away in their own time. You close your eyes, listening to the soft rasp of the broom and the distant call of a night bird. In the space between each breath, you ask yourself, what remains when there is nothing left to hold on to? You sense a stillness deeper than any forest glade, an ocean of calm beneath the surface, ripples of thought. Here you taste the teaching of dependent origination. Every sensation arises because of countless conditions, and every condition dissolves back into the whole. A halo of moonlight filters through the branches, painting the earth in silver patterns. You stand and move toward a shallow pool that mirrors the sky. When you peer into its surface, you see the moon's reflection shimmering and fractured by ripples created by a lone stone's drop. You pick up a pebble and gently let it fall. Tiny circles spread outward, overlapping and fading until the moon's face returns whole and unmoved by the disturbance. The image speaks to you of interbeing. Each wave is part of the vast body of water, and yet no single wave defines the lake. You sit at the pool's edge, legs folded back straight. In the hush, you repeat silently to yourself, a teaching whispered by generations of seekers. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Each phrase washes over you, dissolving the barrier between knower and known. The boundaries you normally erect between past and future self and other soften and blur. You become the trembling leaf, the sweeping broom, the fallen pebble, and the vast lake itself. A gentle breeze stirs, carrying the scent of pine earth and distant incense. You inhale deeply, letting the breath fill every corner of your being. On the exhale, you release tension held in your shoulders, your jaw, your heart. With each cycle, you remind yourself, this too passes. The phrase is both anchor and sail, holding you in the present moment while guiding you toward peace. The monk returns with a small bowl of cooling tea. He offers it without a word. You accept, feeling the warmth of gratitude well within. As the liquid touches your lips, you notice how flavor and sensation arise together, then fade. There is no need to chase the pleasant or resist the bitter. Each is an expression of life's unfolding. You taste the teaching of interdependence once more. Your hunger, the water, the leaves, the sky, all converging in this tender gift. You rise and walk slowly back along the pine-lined path. Each breath, each step is prayer and offering. The moon hangs low now, curious and kind, as if to remind you that light endures even when hidden. The world around you glows with quiet presence, and so does the silence within. Pausing at the threshold of an open gate, you turn inward, listening to the stillness that resides beyond thought. You bring your hand to your heart and feel its steady beat. In that rhythm, you touch the infinite, the same pulse that moves galaxies and petals alike. You bow gently to the space between the in-breath and the out-breath, honoring the sacred pause in which all practice rests. Before you step through, you offer one last reflection. Who are you truly when all stories fall away? And in that question, you find a doorway. You walk on free of attachments, your mind awake yet unburdened, carried by the grace of presence itself. A soft mist rises from the earth. As you continue onward, each inhalation drawing cool clarity into your lungs. You notice how the fog drapes itself over the landscape like a gentle question, neither hiding nor revealing, simply inviting closer attention. This is the teaching of emptiness form and void dance together, inseparable, each giving shape to the other. Ahead, an old stone bridge arches over a narrow stream, its surface worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. You step onto the bridge, feeling its steady curve beneath your feet, and pause at its midpoint. Water glides beneath, whispering ancient stories of rain and mountain of stones shaped by persistent flow. You lean over, watching the current carry fallen petals, bright reminders that beauty, like all things, drifts onward in its own time. A solitary cherry tree leans toward the water, its blossoms drifting one by one into the stream. You reach out and catch a petal, its texture delicate as a thought before it forms. Holding it, you sense the gift of impermanence. Nothing can stay unchanged, yet each moment like this, petal's descent is precious in its passing. You place the blossom on the surface and watch it glide away free of expectation. On the other side of the bridge, a grove of bamboo stands tall in measured rhythm. The stalks sway in unison, each movement silent yet speaking volumes about resilience. You step among them, brushing your fingertips against their smooth edges. In the gentle creak of bamboo rubbing bamboo, you hear the lesson of interbeing. Each stalk supports its neighbor, and together they create a harmonious forest. Your own life is woven into this tapestry, and so are the lives of all beings. Deeper into the grove, you find a flat stone beneath a canopy of leaves. You settle there, back against the cool earth, and close your eyes. In the hush, you recall the teaching of dependent origination. Nothing arises independently, and nothing disappears in isolation. Your breath is wind and water and leaf. Your heartbeat is echo and memory and hope. From your seated posture, you raise your awareness to the sounds around you, the distant toll of a temple bell, the rustle of hidden creatures, the soft thud of your own pulse. Each sensation is both intimate and vast, a doorway into the nature of no self. Who listens to the bell, who feels the breeze. You dissolve into the fluid space where perceiver and perception merge, and a whisper emerges. What is left when nothing is held? At that moment, the breeze stirs the bamboo again, sending a shower of tiny fragments of light dancing across your closed eyelids. You inhale deeply, drawing that luminous pattern into your mind, then exhale slowly, releasing tension into the world. In the quiet aftermath, you rest fully in this presence, unfound by fear, undisturbed by desire, wholly here. When you stand, your body feels both grounded and weightless, as if you carry the calm of water and the strength of stone. Each step you take beyond the grove is guided by a natural grace, informed by the simple truth that peace is available whenever you return to the breath, to the body, to the open moment. You move now toward a field where fireflies begin their evening dance. They sparkle like scattered lanterns, rising and falling in unpredictable arcs. You pause at the edge of the glow, feeling the invitation of their silent song, all light, no grasp, all movement, no attachment. You raise your hand as though to join their luminous ballet, and in that gesture, you understand that presence itself is the greatest offering you can give to the night. You step forward into the meadow, where fireflies weave their delicate constellations. Each glowing orb hovers for a moment before drifting away, as though tethered to nothing, yet moving with purpose. You bend down and cup your hands around one tiny light. It pulses softly in your palms, a living lantern born from darkness. In this fragile brilliance, you recognize the teaching of dependent origination. Life arises from countless unseen causes, and in its brief glow, it teaches you how to honor every hidden thread that brought you here. Gently, you release the firefly back into the night. It darts upward, rejoining its companions, reminding you that letting go does not mean losing. You inhale the scent of wild mint carried on the breeze, feeling the coolness linger on your tongue. With each breath, you taste the sweetness of interbeing, how the earth, the air, the plants, and your own body share a silent communion. Ahead, a fallen log invites you to sit. Its surface is mottled with lichen and soft moss, a testament to years of quiet transformation. You settle onto the log, noting how the wood has given itself back to the forest, nourishing new life even in decay. Impermanence reveals itself here, not as loss, but as generous change. The log's end is the soil's beginning. You press your palm to its rough bark and feel the steady heartbeat of becoming. Above you, the stars emerge one by one, threading the sky with silver filaments. You raise your gaze and let your mind expand, until you sense the vast web of existence stretching beyond horizon and heartbeat. What remains, you whisper, when you touch both earth and sky in a single breath. A soft sigh drifts through the grasses, a breath from the world itself, and you realize that every inhale is a gift, every exhale a letting go. You close your eyes and rest in the space between breaths, that sacred pause where teaching and experience merge. There you find the simple instruction of Zen, just this here now. And in that knowing, you discover a peace that carries you gently forward through the unfolding night. You wander deeper into the night, guided by the soft glow of moonlight, filtering through a canopy of dew-laden leaves. Each step is an act of trust in the unseen path. You come upon a small shrine nestled beneath an ancient cedar, its weathered wood bathed in silver light. Before it, a simple cloth banner flutters inscribed with the words, "All compounded things must dissolve." The teaching of impermanence hums in the breeze, reminding you that every form arises and falls away, like the tide's ritual embrace of the shore. Kneeling before the shrine, you light a slender incense stick and watch the smoke curl upward, painting invisible calligraphy in the air. The scent is soft, like memory brushing against waking consciousness. You trace its journey with your breath, inhaling calm, exhaling tension. As the smoke dissipates, you sense the Zen metaphor of the empty page. Thought writes itself upon it, then vanishes, leaving space for new possibilities. Rising, you follow a whispering trail of moss onto a low stone platform, where a round gong rests its surface smooth and unadorned. You lift the mallet and strike it gently. The resonance unfolds, a deep sonorous wave that fills the stillness and then fades into silence. In that echo, you hear the teaching of no self sound arises, lingers, and dissolves without owner, like your own thoughts and fears. You sit cross-legged beside the gong hands resting on your knees and turn inward. In the calm between sounds, you ask yourself, what remains when every echo falls silent? There beyond the swing of the mallet, you touch the boundless field of awareness that neither begins nor ends. You stay in that expanse, held by nothing, yet supported by everything, carried onward by the gentle breath of night itself. A hush settles as you rise from the gong's place, footsteps soft on the mossy earth. You follow a faint light drifting across the forest floor, an old lantern trapped in a tangle of branches swinging gently in the night breeze. Its motion is both random and purposeful, teaching you about the middle way, neither grasping motion nor resisting stillness, but finding ease within flow. You free the lantern from its perch and carry it toward a hidden glade where a shallow pond reflects a single lotus bud breaking through the dark water. You set the lantern beside the bloom, its warm glow illuminating the glossy petals. In that light, the flower seems to breathe, a living symbol of awakening, rising from murky depths without clinging to its origins. Here you meet the teaching of bodhicitta compassion, arising naturally from the heart of suffering, transforming darkness into the promise of light. Seated on a flat stone at the pond's edge, you watch the lantern's flame ripple in your reflection. You feel your own heart's warmth mirror the glow, recognizing that kindness and insight are born together. You bring your awareness to the silent dialogue between light and water, between inner and outer world. In that stillness, you offer yourself a gentle question. What arises when nothing is sought and everything is given? A single frog's croak echoes, and you let it settle into the silence. Breath by breath, you dissolve the boundary between flame and water, between question and answer. The lantern flickers, then steadies steady, like your own awakened mind, clear and steady in the midst of night's mystery. You rest here, embraced by that calm luminosity, letting the teaching of compassion guide you deeper into presence. You rise from the pond's edge and carry the lantern deeper into the glade, its glow guiding you like a faithful companion. The path ascends now, winding between stones carpeted in ferns and moss. Each step is steady, each breath drawn from the cool earth, reminding you of the teaching of right effort, moving with intention, neither forcing nor neglecting, but guiding each moment with care. As you climb, you come upon a carved bench nestled beside a gnarled pine, whose roots twist like ancient calligraphy across the ground. You pause, placing the lantern on the bench, and settle against the pine's weathered trunk. Above you, the branches stretch like welcoming arms, offering shelter without grasping. You rest here for a long moment, attending to the rise and fall of your breath, the beating of your heart, the pulse of night. In the hush, you recall the image of clouds drifting across the sky, effortless, unhurried, always unfolding. You lift your gaze to the dark canopy, seeing shapes emerge and fade, each form teaching you about no-self patterns of mind, arising and dissolving in open awareness. You ask softly, when clouds pass, do you chase them or do you simply witness? In that gentle question, you find the invitation to release striving, to rest in the spaciousness that holds all experiences. The lantern's flame flickers as a breeze stirs the pine needles above. You close your eyes and feel the breath of the forest on your skin, soft, alive, unclaimable. Here, in this silent communion of tree and traveler, you touch the teaching of interbeing each breath, shared by root and needle, by earth and sky, by self and all. When you stand to continue, the pine seems to bow its branches, rustling with quiet blessing. You gather the lantern once more and follow the path upward, guided by moonlight and the steady light you carry. Step by step, you move toward an open clearing where the horizon begins to glow with the promise of dawn, not bright, not urgent, but soft and inevitable. You pause at the clearing's rim, feeling the shift in the air as night yields to early light. In that threshold moment, you rest in the teaching of impermanence. Once more, nothing holds, nothing lasts, yet each unfolding breath is exactly as it needs to be. You inhale that promise of change and exhale into stillness, carrying the peace of the journey forward as the world awakens around you. The first pale blush of dawn glimmers on the horizon as you step into the open field dew, catching the light like a scattering of jewels. Each blade of grass carries a drop of clarity, teaching you once again about impermanence, how the night's cool hush shifts into morning's gentle song, without pause or resistance. You pause, arms outstretched, welcoming the new light as though it were an old friend returning, Ahead, the soft trill of a lone morning bird rises through the quiet. You follow its song to a low stone wall where wildflowers have threaded themselves between the cracks, tiny blossoms in shades of lavender and white. You crouch to examine them, noting how fragile petals open fully, offering themselves to sun and rain alike. In their simple surrender, you see the teaching of non-self. Each flower is both itself and everything else, the soil, the sky, the passing breeze. Standing again, you brush your fingers over the flowers before letting them sway untouched in the breeze. You continue along the wall until it ends at a small gate, its wood worn smooth by countless hands. You lift the latch and step through into a silent orchard where fruit trees stand in perfect rows, their branches heavy with promise. The air here smells of blossom, and earth a subtle reminder that abundance and emptiness coexist. Beneath the trees, a low bench, crafted from a split log, offers a place to sit. You settle onto its cool surface, leaning back to look skyward. Petals drift down like soft rain settling on your hair and shoulders. You reach up to gently brush one away, smiling at its delicate fall. In that moment, you recognize how attachment to even a single petal can weigh the mind, and how letting it go returns you to lightness. You close your eyes, resting in the gentle rhythm of petal and breath. In the space between each inhalation and exhalation, you hear the orchard's quiet harmony, the mingled scents, the distant hum of life awakening the earth's steady heartbeat beneath your seat. You offer yourself a soft question. Where do you rest when nothing pulls at you? Silence answers, and you sit within its embrace, carried forward by the dawn's quiet gift. A gentle warmth spreads across the orchard as the sun's rays deepen, illuminating dew-kissed branches and the soft curve of each fruit. You rise and wander between trunks, fingers brushing smooth bark, feeling the pulse of life within. The teaching of interdependence unfolds. Here blossoms become fruit. Fruit nurtures the earth, and earth sustains every living thing, including you. In the center of the orchard, you discover a small fountain carved from mossy stone. Water pools in its basin, then flows over carved lotus petals into a shallow channel that winds through the grass. You kneel by the fountain's edge and dip your fingers in the cool, clear water. It ripples outward, meeting the channel, and carrying its gift onward, an endless cycle of giving and receiving. You taste the teaching of generosity. Life flows freely when barriers dissolve, and each offering returns in unseen currents. Standing, you follow the channel's winding course until it leads you to an open pavilion draped in white linen curtains that flutter in the breeze. Inside, a single cushion awaits. You settle upon it, legs folded, facing the rising sun. Curtains part to reveal the full glow of morning light, bathing you in gentle radiance. You bow your head in gratitude to earth, and sky to silence, and sound to the countless breaths that brought you here. In the hush of dawn, you repeat softly to yourself the words you have carried through the night. All compounded things must dissolve. And in that phrase, you feel a boundless liberation, as though the orchard, the path, the lantern, and the breath are all one. You rest in that unity, carried forward by the simple truth that peace is always present when you return to the heart of this moment. Soft light filters through the pavilion's curtains, warming your skin as you breathe in the dawn's gentle promise. You rise and step beyond its threshold, sandals silent on the polished wood floor. The world stretches before you in hues of gold and mist roof tiles, glistening temple eaves, tracing graceful arcs against the sky. You recognize the teaching of skillful means. Wisdom adapts to every form, meeting you wherever you stand without altering your true nature. You follow a stone path edged with white pebbles that lead to a quiet courtyard. Here, a shallow basin of water reflects a lone crane's silhouette standing at the far edge. You approach slowly, each step a mindful prayer, and pause to watch the bird's elegant stillness. It holds its head high, one leg tucked in folded grace, embodying perfect balance. In its calm posture, you taste the teaching of right mindfulness to stand in awareness without wavering, to rest in the fullness of this single moment. As the crane lifts its leg and shifts, you feel your own body shift, releasing tension from ankles, knees, hips. You mirror its gentle movement, inhaling as you lift your foot, exhaling as you plant it firmly on the ground. With each motion, you invite harmony between body and breath, between inner and outer equilibrium. What arises when movement and stillness become one? Ahead, a low pavilion draped with lanterns beckons. You enter and find a low table laid with simple offerings, a bowl of rice, a branch of blooming plum, and a cup of pure water. Without thought, you bow deeply, honoring generosity in its most basic form. Rice grown by unseen hands, petals offered by a silent tree water, drawn from the earth's depths. You realize that every gift you receive reflects countless acts of kindness, the teaching of interbeing, woven into each grain, each petal, each drop. Settling beside the table, you trace the curve of the plum branch with your fingertip, noticing how even in bloom, it remains anchored to the world of roots and soil. You lift the rice bowl to your lips and taste the simple nourishment, savoring each grain as though it were the only thing in existence. In this mindful eating, you touch the teaching of right livelihood, to partake in life with gratitude, to honor every step that brought sustenance to you. Finishing the offering, you set each vessel aside and fold your hands in reflection. A breeze stirs the lanterns overhead, their paper shades rustling like whispered sutras. You inhale the sound, filling your mind with its gentle chant, then exhale into silence. In this hush, you offer one last question for the night. When all forms pass away, where do you rest? And in that open wondering, you find the space where mind and world dissolve into simple presence once more. You rise from the pavilion and tread softly along a stone corridor, each footfall a deliberate caress upon ancient timber. Lantern light dances on carved panels, revealing scenes of lotus petals unfurling and cranes stretching their wings at dawn. You pause before a low window, framing a distant mountain bathed in rose and violet hues. In that image, you behold the teaching of vastness. Like the mountain, your awareness extends beyond any single moment, embracing all horizons. Turning, you step into a courtyard where a single tea house stands. Its sliding doors are open, revealing tatami mats and a simple alcove where a bamboo scroll hangs inscribed with the phrase, "Be present." You enter and sit before the scroll, folding your legs beneath you. A steaming bowl of tea awaits on a lacquered tray. You lift it and inhale the fragrant steam green leaves earth sun and feel your mind settle into its warmth. As you sip, you taste the teaching of right concentration. Each cup is complete within itself, each moment perfect in its totality. You notice how flavor arises, lingers, and fades, leaving space for the next sip and the next breath. There is no hurry to finish, no regret once it's gone, only the seamless flow of now. You set the bowl beside you and allow your gaze to soften, taking in the tea house's simplicity, the grain of the wood, the woven pattern of the mats, the gentle curve of the scroll above. In this quiet geometry, you perceive the interweaving of form and emptiness, each element revealing the other. A soft wind stirs the sliding doors, carrying the scent of pine and distant incense. You bow your head in silent gratitude for this moment's gift. Before you leave, you offer yourself one last reflection. When you rest fully here, what else is there to know? And in that question, you dissolve into silence, into breath, into the gentle unfolding of everything. You step back into the open air, carrying the warmth of the tea house within you. Outside, the path curves gently down toward a secluded orchard of young plum trees, their blossoms scattered like whispered blessings upon the earth. Each fallen petal cradles a drop of morning dew, transient jewels that remind you of life's delicate balance between arrival and departure. Following the winding trail, you come to a shallow stream where water flows over smooth stones, singing its eternal song. You kneel at the bank and let your fingers slip beneath the surface. The current circles your hand like a gentle question. Where does the river begin, and where does it end? You watch the water trace patterns over your skin, dissolving any sense of boundary between self and stream. Here, the teaching of non-duality lingers. Form and emptiness are one movement inseparable as breath and life. Rising, you cross a simple wooden footbridge. Its planks creak underfoot each sound, a whispered reminder of the middle way, walking without rushing, without lingering, but fully present in each step. On the far side, a grove of bamboo arches overhead, creating a living tunnel of green. Sunlight filters through the stalks, casting shifting patterns that play across the forest floor like the mind's passing thoughts. You pause beneath the tallest bamboo, its trunk rising straight and true. Reaching out, you lay your palm flat against its smooth surface, feeling the living rhythm within. You sense the teaching of right view, to see things as they truly are, steady, yet changing, separate, yet connected. In that moment, you bow your head to the bamboo, honoring its simple wisdom. Continuing through the grove, you discover a small clearing where a weathered stone bench awaits. You sit and close your eyes, listening to the symphony of sound, the rustle of leaves, the call of a distant bird, the steady flow of water beyond. In the convergence of these voices, you touch the teaching of dependent origination. Once more, each sound exists because of every other sound, woven together in the endless tapestry of now. With eyes still closed, you bring your awareness back to the breath. Inhale warmth, gathering in the chest. Exhale tension melting into the earth. You repeat silently, I rest as all rests. Each phrase is a hand reaching out across time, connecting you to every seeker who has sat in silence before you. When you open your eyes, the clearing is bathed in soft gold. You rise and step forward into the light, guided by the gentle pull of dawn. No destination lies ahead, only the ever-unfolding path. And with each breath, each footfall, you carry the teachings with you, impermanence as your companion, emptiness as your home. And the quiet question, who are you, when nothing holds you, echoing like a lantern through the chambers of the heart. A widening dawn light now spills across a low hill, dotted with wild grasses glistening in dew. You climb its gentle slope, feeling each blade part beneath your feet, like a silent welcome. At the crest, you pause, turning so that the full panorama of valley and distant peaks stretches before you. In that vastness, you sense the teaching of spaciousness. Mind-like sky holds all weather without becoming the storm. Below, you notice a lone hawk riding the thermal's wings, outstretched in effortless flight. You watch as it circles, rising and falling in harmony with unseen currents. Its graceful arc becomes a living metaphor for no-effort action, born of alignment, not force. You raise your arms, mimicking its span, inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you release, discovering your own capacity to soar within the breath. Turning from the hawk's dance, you see a narrow trail descending into a grove of maples, whose leaves are just beginning to blush with early autumn's promise. You follow the path as it winds beneath their branches, each step stirring a soft carpet of fallen foliage. The rustle beneath your feet reminds you of dependent origination. Every sound, every movement arises because of countless causes coming together in the moment. In the heart of the grove, you find a moss-covered stone inscribed with a single character, Kong emptiness. You sit beside it, hands resting lightly on moss, and close your eyes. In the hush that follows, you contemplate the nature of emptiness itself, not nothingness, but the absence of fixed boundaries. You open your awareness to the murmur of wind through leaves, to the distant drip of sap from a branch, each sound a doorway into the vast openness within. After a long moment, you stand and continue along the stream that curves through the maples. You come to a shallow pool where water collects in a hollowed rock. Kneeling, you trace its rim with a fingertip and feel the coolness seep into your bones. You offer a silent invitation. What remains when all patterns dissolve into the source? The question lingers in the mist, and you rest in its gentle echo, carried onward by the moving water that knows no destination but its own flow. You step away from the moss-lined pool and follow a narrow path, carved through ferns, each frond quivering with dew. The trail leads you to a humble wooden hall, its sliding doors open to welcome you. Inside, the air is cool and still scented faintly of ink and rice paper. A lone monk bends over a long scroll brush, in hand painting a single character with deliberate slowness. You bow at the threshold and approach, noticing the empty ink well at his side. He dips the brush, lets the bristles touch the paper, then lifts again, raising awareness to the space between strokes. In this simple act, You perceive the teaching of beginner's mind, each moment fresh, each action free from the weight of what came before. Like the empty cup, waiting for new tea, your mind meets each sensation without preconception. You settle on the tatami beside him, pick up a spare brush, and let your hand float above blank paper. With a single breath, you press the bristles to the scroll. The ink blossoms on the surface, then fades as your stroke lifts an echo of impermanence in every line. You trace the character again slower this time, savoring the pause before the next mark. What arises when you empty your cup of all expectation? When you've finished, the monk nods, and together you roll the scroll, honoring the unseen space that holds the ink's shape. Stepping back into the gentle light you carry with you, the lesson of open presence. Life unfolds in every fresh beginning, and to meet it fully, you need only remain empty enough to receive its gift. You step back into the forest's edge, carrying the memory of brush and ink within your awareness. Sunlight filters through the canopy in shifting patterns, guiding you toward a quiet clearing where a fallen cedar trunk lies centuries old, yet alive with moss and fungi. You kneel beside it, placing your palms on the cool surface, feeling the heartbeat of decay giving rise to new life. Here, in this cycle of endings and beginnings, you touch the teaching of interdependence. Every death nourishes 1,000 births. Rising, you follow a narrow deer path that winds through bracken until it leads you to a hidden glade bathed in afternoon light. In the center stands a single yew tree, its dark needles offering a canopy of deep shade. You sit at its base, back against the ancient trunk, and close your eyes. In the silent embrace of shade, you sense the teaching of non-duality. Shadow and light are inseparable, each defining the other in the dance of existence. A soft breeze stirs in the yew's branches, sending a cascade of tiny needles drifting down like whispered prayers. You lift your hand and let them settle there, one by one, offering their silent blessings. With each falling needle, you repeat inwardly, "I rest in what is." There is nothing to add, nothing to remove, only the simple presence of this breath, this tree, this moment. After some time, you rise again and follow the light as it shifts toward evening. The path leads you past a shallow stream where smooth stones create a natural staircase through the water. You step barefoot into the stream, feeling the cool flow swirl around your ankles. Each step is an invitation to release muscle by muscle, thought by thought, until you move with the water's effortless ease. At the stream's end, you find a small wooden bridge arching to a narrow path bordered by lantern-lit lantern flowers, their petals unfolding in the fading light. You walk among them, slowly pausing before each bloom to breathe in its fragrance, a subtle reminder that even in dusk, there is a quiet unfolding. You ask yourself, what blossoms when you cease to cling? The question lives in the air, and you rest in its gentle unfolding as the lantern flowers glow on into the night. Soft twilight deepens as you leave the lantern flower path, the air growing cool and still. You follow a faint trail that leads to a secluded clearing where a circle of stones surrounds a small fire pit. Embers glow faintly within the dying coals, offering a final warmth before night fully takes hold. You kneel by the pit and gently rake the ashes with a stick, watching the faint sparks drift skyward like tiny shooting stars. In their brief ascent and fall, you sense the teaching of impermanence once more. Even the smallest flare of life is both precious and fleeting. Rising, you step away and discover a low tree stump nearby. You sit the wood's aged rings, visible beneath you, each circle a testament to years of seasons passing. As you settle, a sudden breeze stirs the clearing, sending a swirl of fallen leaves dancing around you in a silent whirl. You close your eyes and let the leaves brush your skin, each touch a reminder of interbeing, how your life is woven into every gust of wind, every turning leaf. When the leaves settle, you open your eyes to find the stump now decorated with a single perfect leaf, its veins glowing in the dim light. You pick it up and hold it to your heart, feeling the pulse of life that courses through even its fragile form. You realize that no self is not nothingness, but the recognition that every form, every leaf, every ember, every breath is part of a whole you cannot separate from. Standing, you place the leaf back upon the stump and let it rest. Ahead, you see a narrow path, lined with smooth river stones that glisten under the moon's pale light. You walk barefoot, feeling the cool rounded stones underfoot, each footstep a mindful offering. In this simple sensation, you rest in the teaching of right mindfulness, fully present in the act of walking, aware of every shift in balance and every nuance of touch. As you reach the path's end, you pause and gently ask yourself, what remains when every boundary falls away? In the hush that follows, you sense the answer unfolding beneath your feet, a quiet steadiness that carries you forward into the gentle embrace of night. You breathe in the cool night air as the river stones give way to a soft carpet of moss, lining a gentle incline. Each step upward carries you closer to the sky, reminding you of the teaching of aspiration. Just as bamboo seeks the light without strain, your mind can extend toward wisdom without grasping. At the summit, you find a circular clearing ringed by weathered pillars of stone. Moonlight spills across their surfaces, illuminating ancient carvings of cranes and lotus flowers entwined. You move between the pillars, fingertips tracing the worn edges, feeling the steady pulse of time passing through stone into your own bones. Here, impermanence and endurance meet in silent accord. In the center of the circle, a shallow bowl of water rests upon a pedestal. You kneel before it and gaze into the liquid surface where the moon's reflection shimmers like a promise. A single drop of dew falls from a nearby leaf, creating concentric rings that ripple outward until the image returns whole again. You sense the teaching of no self. Every disturbance arises and dissolves, yet the mirror remains unchanged. You cup a handful of the cool water and raise it to your lips, tasting clarity and letting it settle in your chest. Then you pour the remainder back, honoring generosity without reservation. As you stand, you offer yourself one final reflection. When the waves calm, what remains beneath, you turn from the bowl and follow the starlit path descending toward the valley, carrying the quiet answer within you. a steadfast stillness that guides each breath and every step. The path winds down through a grove of silver birch whose pale trunks glow like lanterns in the moonlight. Each step echoes softly on the leaf-strewn earth as you descend toward a quiet river's edge. There, you pause beneath a weeping willow whose slender branches brush the water's surface, creating ripples that spiral outward into the night. You remember the teaching of dependent origination. Each ripple arises because of the stone's drop, the curve of the branch, the breath in your chest, and yet none exists in isolation. A fallen branch arches across the bank, its mossy curve inviting you to cross. You lift one foot carefully, then the other, letting the wood bear your weight as you move in harmony with its gentle bend. On the other side, a low bench carved from riverstone awaits. You sit back straight and extend your hands to catch a stray leaf drifting down from above. Its crisp edges and deep veins speak of the ever-turning wheel, of change impermanence alive in every fiber. You rest the leaf on your palm and breathe in the scent of night-blooming jasmine carried on a soft breeze. In that scent, you taste the teaching of interbeing flowers, air, earth, and memory mingling in a single breath. You close your eyes and ask what blossoms when you stop separating yourself from the world around you. The question floats gently on the river's sighing current. A lone dragonfly skims the surface, its wings blinking like tiny mirrors of light. You watch as it hovers, poised between the realm of air and water, embodying the middle way, neither above nor below, but effortlessly present in both. In its stillness, you discover that true balance arises not from holding firm, but from yielding to the flow of life itself. And so you sit by the riverbank, embraced by moonlight and breeze, carrying the calm of each teaching within your own steady heart. You rise from the riverbank and follow a narrow trail that winds beneath towering cedars, their trunks draped in curtains of soft Spanish moss. Each step is cushioned by a carpet of needles, and with every inhalation you draw in the forest's ancient stillness. Here the teaching of right view unfolds, to see each moment clearly as it is without the distortions of past regrets or future projections. Ahead, you discover a circle of mushrooms sprouting at the base of a fallen oak. Their caps glow faintly in the moonlight, a secret community thriving in shadow. You kneel and trace the pattern of their arrangement, one central cap surrounded by delicate rings of smaller ones, and sense the teaching of dependent origination. Life arises in relationship, each form nourished by the decay that came before it, each dependent on the soil, the air, the unseen web of life. With gentle care, you brush away a fallen pine needle so the mushrooms stand clear, then press your palm lightly against the earth beside them. You feel a subtle pulse, as though the ground itself breathes beneath you. You close your eyes and sit back on your heels, letting awareness spread through the soles of your feet into the core of the earth. In this grounded presence, you reflect what steadies you when all support seems to vanish. A chorus of cicadas rises in the distance, their rhythms weaving a tapestry of sound that both fills and empties the mind. In their song, you hear the teaching of impermanence. Every note emerges, swells, then fades. Yet the music continues, unbroken, by the passing of individual voices. You breathe in time with that invisible harmony, letting each exhale carry away any lingering tension. Standing once more, you follow the mossy trail until you reach a simple wooden gate framed by lantern-lit wisteria vines. The blossoms cascade overhead like a pale waterfall, releasing petals that drift softly to the ground. You pass beneath the gate, its beam arching gently above you, and feel the threshold between worlds, the familiar and the unknown, press against your skin. You pause, hand resting on the weathered post, and invite yourself to cross fully into the present moment. Through the gate lies a quiet courtyard paved with smooth stones. At its center stands a low stone basin filled with water so still it mirrors the sky. You approach, kneel, and run your fingertips across its surface, sending ripples that shimmer outward, then settle. In that gesture, you taste the teaching of no self. Each disturbance leaves no trace. Each wave returns to calm, and the reflection of sky and moon remains whole. You lean forward and whisper your invitation to the night. What depth lies beneath the surface of every thought? The courtyard answers with perfect silence, and you sit in its embrace, carried onward by the gentle unfolding of presence itself. A soft rustle draws your gaze upward, where lantern-lit paper cranes hover in clusters beneath a wooden eave. You step closer and notice each crane bears a tiny verse painted in flowing calligraphy wisdom cast into the night. Gently, you reach out and touch one feeling, the papery silk give beneath your fingertip. In that fragile texture, you perceive the teaching of beginner's mind. Each new verse, each moment, arrives without burden or bias, fresh as first light. You lift the crane and unfold its wings, releasing it into the air. It drifts upward, carried by an unseen current, until it finds its place among the others. You inhale the cool breeze that guides its flight and sense the lesson of non-attachment, to set down what you hold so that it may rise on its own path. Leaving the eave, you follow a narrow corridor, lined with smooth river stones set in patterned mosaic. With each barefoot step, you feel the stone's gentle resistance beneath your soles, a reminder of right effort where balance emerges, not from force, but from openness to support. You walk mindfully attuned to the dance of pressure and release of earth and foot. At the corridor's end, a low wooden door stands slightly ajar. You open it and enter a moonlit chamber where a single bell hangs above a shallow bowl of water. You lift the bell's mallet and strike its rim. The clear tone resonates through your chest, a lasting echo that slowly fades into stillness. In that fading, you touch the core teaching of emptiness. Sound arises, lingers, and returns to silence without leaving a trace. Setting the mallet aside, you kneel by the water's bowl and trace its rim with your fingertip. The surface mirrors the lanterns above, fracturing their light into dancing patterns. You close your eyes and breathe, letting the image dissolve into inner space. In this sacred hush, you rest fully in presence carried onward by the gentle unfolding of every breath. Beyond the chamber, you step onto a narrow balcony overlooking a darkened courtyard stitched with moonlight. A gentle wind stirs the bamboo screens, and their whispering cadence becomes the night's final lullaby. You lean on the railing, feeling the worn wood beneath your palms, steadfast yet shaped by countless nights like this one. In its quiet endurance, you recognize the teaching of patience, strength, found not in resistance, but in yielding to time's gentle hand. Below, lanterns float upon a still pool, tethered only by thin cords, their reflections dancing like living fireflies beneath the water's surface. You descend a silent staircase and pause at the pool's edge. Each lantern's glow trembles with the slightest ripple, reminding you that beauty and fragility arise together. You reach out and touch the water, watching how your fingers part the light, then let it flow back into perfect symmetry. Kneeling, you lift one lantern from its cradle, feeling its faint heat. You carry it forward until the water deepens, then gently release it. The lantern drifts its flame mirrored in concentric circles that spread until they blend into the pond's glassy calm. In that slow convergence, you taste the teaching of unity, how separate forms return to the same source. As the lantern fades into the distance, you settle on a stone bench beneath an ancient cherry tree. Though its blossoms have long since fallen, its gnarled branches still stretch toward the heavens, reaching without concern for outcome. You draw your knees close, wrapping your arms around them, and close your eyes. In the hush, you offer one last reflection. What song remains when every lantern's flame dims? A soft breeze carries petals from a distant grove, and you feel them drift across your face, gentle reminders of impermanence and renewal. You rest in their touch, carried onward by the silent melody of night, knowing that beyond every ending lies the promise of a new dawn. The pale glow of early dawn lingers at the edge of the sky as you rise from the cherry tree's shadow, limbs uncoiling with gentle awareness. You turn inward for a moment, placing your palm against your heart to feel its steady beat, each pulse a reminder that life flows through countless vessels, visible and unseen. In that sacred rhythm, you recognize once more the truth of inner being. Your own breath is woven from earth, water, fire, and air, and is bound to every living thing that rises and falls beside you. You begin walking down the stone path that leads back toward the monastery, each footstep carrying the weight of both experience and release. Alongside the path, a row of weathered lanterns stands unlit silent witnesses to countless nights of practice. Though the light has gone, their forms remain teaching you about no self, even when purpose appears to fade. The essence of what you have done endures as guidance for what is to come. You pass each lantern in turn, bowing your head in quiet gratitude for the light they offered. Ahead, the monastery's wooden gates come into view, their dark frames glowing softly in the dawn's afterlight. You push them open with care, stepping into the courtyard, where the cushions and benches lie empty and waiting. The silence here feels like an invitation to rest in simplicity, to meet nothingness as fully as you have met form. You pause at the threshold, inhaling the scent of aged wood and stone warmed by the first sun, and exhale with the gentle affirmation, all things pass, and yet nothing is lost. In the center of the courtyard stands a low altar adorned with a single white lotus blossom, cradled in a bowl of water. You approach and kneel before it, tracing the curve of each petal with the tip of your finger. In that close attention, you touch the teaching of dependent origination for the final time tonight. The blossom's beauty exists because of earth, water, sun, and unseen hands of care. Just as your own peace emerges from countless moments of attention offered without expectation. With a soft bow, you rise and step back, body aligned with breath, mind aligned with world. Here in the gentle hush that follows night's lessons, you rest fully in presence carried forward by the rhythm of life's unfolding. You step away from the lotus altar and wander toward the low hall where morning's lessons await. The doors slide open without a sound, revealing a polished wooden floor, bathed in the pale glow of first light. You kneel on a cushion before a row of small bells, each one tuned to a different pitch, and raise the mallet. As you strike the lowest bell, its gentle resonance ripples through the hall, teaching you that every vibration, like every thought, has its moment and then returns to silence. One by one, you touch each bell, listening as the notes ascend in delicate intervals before fading. In that rising and falling, you taste the teaching of interdependence. Each tone exists because of the one before it, and together they weave a melody that only truly lives in this space between sounds. You close your eyes as the final echo dissolves, and in the hush that follows, you ask yourself, what harmony emerges when every note dissolves into stillness? A breeze drifts in through an open window, carrying with it the scent of blooming jasmine from the courtyard. You inhale slowly, letting the fragrance fill your awareness, then exhale into the stillness of the hall. In that exchange, you recognize the teaching of no self-scent, arises without owner breeze, moves without aim, and you, like each passing moment, are both mover and moved. You rise and step onto the veranda where dew-kissed wooden planks glisten beneath your bare feet. Ahead, a single sparrow alights on the railing, its chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. You watch in silence as it takes flight again, trusting the air to carry it without effort. In its brief presence, you perceive the teaching of right effort action, born not of striving, but of gentle alignment with what is. With the sparrow's departure, you turn your gaze to the horizon, where the sun's first rays warm the sky in tender hues of rose and gold. You rest here a moment longer, carrying the quiet teachings of night and dawn within you, and let the question linger on your lips. When each moment is complete, how do you return to the source of all peace? In that unspoken inquiry, you walk forward your path and your presence one. You step off the veranda and follow a narrow path lined with smooth river stones that lead toward a hidden garden. The air here is cool and fragrant with moss and wet earth. Lanterns, long since extinguished, hang empty from low branches, their paper sides folded inward like closed eyes. You brush your fingertips along one lantern's frame and sense the teaching of readiness, even in stillness form, holds the possibility of light. Guided by moonlight, mingling with dawn's first glow, you come upon a stone circle where a single meditation cushion awaits. You sit folding your legs beneath you and tilt your face upward to the open sky. Clouds drift silently across the heavens, each one a reminder that thoughts too can pass without stirring the vast expanse of awareness behind them. In this timeless space, you lean into the teaching of spaciousness. Mind is sky, thoughts are clouds, and both belong to the boundless expanse of presence. With eyes softly closed, you bring your attention to the rise and fall of breath, an intimate tide washing in and out of your being. Each inhale gathers the night's calm. Each exhale releases the dawn's promise. You repeat inwardly, all things come and go, letting the words guide your awareness back to this breath, this moment. As the sky brightens, you rest in the gentle interplay of light and shadow form, an emptiness carried onward by the seamless flow of now. A soft warmth settles in the air as the sky lightens petals of dawn unfurling across the horizon. You rise from the cushion and walk barefoot through the garden's mist, each drop of dew a moment, to honor fleeting luminous alive. Ahead, a winding stone path leads past a bed of silver grasses that shimmer like a sea in the morning breeze. You pause and run your fingers through the feathery plumes, sensing the teaching of impermanence. Each blade rises, wavers, then bends back toward the earth, never clinging to its own form. Beyond the grasses, a low wooden bridge spans a narrow ravine where clear water trickles over stones. You step onto the bridge, letting the gentle sway settle you into balance. Beneath you, the stream's voice speaks of dependent origination. Every note carried downstream is born from rain, rock root, and song of unseen creatures. You lean over the railing, watching leaves drift on the current, each one a silent question. Where do you rest when every river returns to the sea? On the far side, the path opens onto a small clearing where a mossy boulder stands like a natural altar. You place your palm against its cool surface, feeling the slow heartbeat of stone and time. In that contact, you taste the teaching of no self. The boundary between you and rock dissolves in a moment of shared stillness, as though atoms and awareness were one dance. You bow your head in gratitude for this union, and then step back to continue. A gentle hill slopes upward, crowned by a single pine whose needles catch the new light. You climb toward it, each footfall a prayer of right effort, steady, mindful, free from hurry. At its crest, you settle beneath the tree, its scent of resin and earth filling your lungs. Leaning against the trunk, you close your eyes and ask softly, what remains when nothing is held? In the hush that follows you, rest fully in the simple answer carried by your breath, quiet presence, unwavering and whole. Soft sunlight filters through the pine's needles, painting your closed eyelids with dancing gold. You rise and follow a winding trail that curves around the hillside, each turn revealing another quiet marvel: wild strawberries nestled in ferns, a solitary dragonfly perched on a sunlit rock, the distant murmur of unseen water. In this tapestry of small wonders, you discover the teaching of generosity. The world offers its beauty freely, and your awareness becomes the gracious receiver. The path descends now, leading you to a clearing where a circle of smooth stones frames a shallow fire pit ringed with ash. A single tendril of smoke spirals upward from a lone ember left from last night's warmth. You crouch and coax the ember back to life, feeding it a slender twig until a soft glow blooms once more. In the act of rekindling, you touch the teaching of right action. Even small efforts offered without expectation can reignite the spark of presence within and around you. With the revived ember nestled in the fire pit, you step back and sit on a nearby stone. Heat radiates gently, mingling with the morning air. You watch sparks drift upward, each one a fleeting note of life's song, brief, bright, then gone. You repeat silently, all that arises must return. In that refrain, you feel both the ember's warmth and its inevitable coolness as a single unfolding. When the fire subsides to glowing coals, you stand and follow a narrow footbridge across a mossy stream. The water beneath carries fallen petals and embers alike, dissolving them in its flow. You pause mid-bridge, leaning on the handrail, and let your gaze soften into the endless current. In that interweaving of light and water, you sense the teaching of interbeing. Each element supports the other, and all converge in a moment that never repeats. You step off the bridge and climb a gentle rise until you reach a stone platform carved with the image of a seated Buddha. You sit at its feet, palms resting lightly on your knees, and close your eyes. In the sacred hush that follows, you offer one final reflection for now. When every form dissolves, what remains unshaken? And in the quiet space between your in-breath and out-breath, you find your answer still clear and ever-present, guiding you onward through the seamless journey of life. A soft breeze stirs the air as you rise from the Buddha's feet, carrying the scent of earth and incense on its wings. You follow a worn stone path that leads through a grove of young oaks, their leaves rustling like whispered sutras. Each whisper reminds you of the teaching of right speech. Words arise from intention, and when spoken with care, they become bridges of presence rather than walls of distraction. Deeper in the grove, you discover a carved wooden bench beneath entwined branches. You settle there, pressing your palms into the grain, feeling the living story of each ring beneath your skin. Above you, sunlight weaves patterns through the canopy, painting shifting mosaics on the forest floor. In the play of light and shadow, you taste the teaching of no-self patterns, form and dissolve without owner. Each moment, a dance of perception and release. A solitary sparrow lands on a branch overhead, cocking its head in curious stillness. You watch as it flutters into a gentle hop, then lifts into the sunlit air. Its effortless movement speaks to the teaching of right action motion, born of harmony, responding to the moment without hesitation or regret. You lift your arms and let them float in the breeze, feeling your own balance emerge in the space between effort and ease. As you continue along the path, fallen leaves drift around your feet, each one a silent reminder of impermanence. You bend to lift one, turning it over to examine its veins, tiny tributaries mapping a life lived in quiet service. You place it gently back upon the earth and inhale deeply, tasting the teaching of interbeing. Every leaf nourishes soil that nourishes tree, that shelters life in a cycle too vast to separate. Emerging from the grove, you find yourself at the edge of a clearing where morning light spills like liquid gold. Wildflowers of lavender and white open their petals toward the sun, offering themselves without reservation. You kneel among them, pressing your cheek to their soft blooms, feeling gratitude bloom in your heart. In their simple generosity, you remember the final question for the journey. How do you give what you have already received? And in that sacred pause, you rest heart open, mind clear, ready to carry the light of presence into whatever unfolds next. You rise from the wildflowers and step into a shaded hollow where a gentle stream splits the land. Mossy planks form a narrow footbridge, each board worn smooth by countless passings. You pause at its center, watching water pool between stones before spilling onward. In that quiet gathering and release, you touch the teaching of impermanence, how each moment forms, lingers, and flows away, yet the river's song remains constant beneath it all. Crossing, you enter a grove of pines whose trunks rise like silent sentinels. Needles drift in the air around you, landing softly on shoulders and palms. You cup them in your hand and let them fall one by one, noticing how each drop returns to earth without hurry or regret. The simple act becomes a Zen anecdote in motion. Leaves brush the mind, then let go, teaching you to meet each thought with gentle curiosity and release. Ahead, a rough-hewn bench sits before a stone lantern half hidden in ferns. You settle there and inhale the scent of damp earth and pine resin. Beneath the lantern's carved roof, a small flame flickers, fed by nothing but the quiet breath of night's last embers. You bow your head and reflect what remains when all the fuel is spent. In that question, you rest carried on the soft exhale that carries smoke skyward, merging fire, air, and emptiness into one silent offering. A pale shaft of sunlight pierces the pine canopy as you rise from the stone lantern's glow, carrying its warmth into your bones. You follow a narrow pine needle-strewn trail that leads to a hidden alcove where a simple wooden tub awaits filled with steaming spring water. Steam rises in gentle tendrils curling around your ankles like whispered blessings. You step in, and the water embraces you. Warm, buoyant, alive, teaching you the practice of compassion, to welcome each sensation, pleasant or painful, with an open heart, rather than turning away. Leaning back, you rest your head on a smooth, heated stone at the tub's edge and close your eyes. Above you, sunlight drifts across the water's surface in shifting patterns. In that reflection, you perceive the teaching of mirror-like awareness. The mind receives every image, every thought, without clinging, allowing them to float and vanish as effortlessly as light over ripples. Steam parts as you inhale deeply, scent of pine and mineral filling your lungs. Each exhale carries away hidden tension, tightness in shoulders, tightness in mind until only ease remains. You offer yourself a final question for this moment. What tenderness emerges when you meet yourself without judgment? In the hush that follows you, lie suspended between water and air, carried forward by the simple grace of presence. You step from the warm tub and let the droplets tracing your skin remind you of the teaching of interbeing. Each drop once dwelled in cloud and ocean, carried by wind and history, and now returns to earth through the simple gift of this bath. Toweling yourself in silence, you follow a stone path lined with smooth river rocks toward a small bench beneath a wisteria arbor. The blossoms hang like soft curtains, their fragrance drifting in slow currents as though carrying secrets of impermanence. Each flower unfurls, blooms, then releases itself to the wind without regret. Seated under the lavender haze, you notice how petals drift down and settle around you, layering the bench in a delicate carpet. A single bloom lands upon your knee. You lift it gently and feel the papery texture glow against your skin. In that tender contact, you recognize the teaching of no self. The petal is neither solely yours nor entirely the tree's, but part of a shared unfolding that transcends boundaries between inner and outer worlds. You release the blossom, watching as it flutters away to join others on the breeze. Closing your eyes, you inhale the sweet sour scent of wisteria mingled with damp earth. In the quiet that follows, you offer yourself a question. What beauty arises when you let go of ownership and rest in the flow of things? In that open space, you find your breath deepening, your heart softening, carried forward by the gentle momentum of presence itself. You rise from beneath the wisteria and follow a narrow, moss-lined path that leads to a hidden pond whose surface lies still as polished jade. Dragonflies hover in the pale light, their wings catching every breath of air in glittering arcs. You step to the water's edge and crouch, extending a single finger to the surface. A perfect circle blooms around your touch, then recedes into flawless calm. In that simple motion, you taste the teaching of dependent origination. Every movement arises through countless causes and returns again to the boundless whole. Beneath a low stone lantern on the far side, you find a fallen blossom resting upon the water. You lean forward and pick it up, feeling its soft weight and the whisper of petals still wet with dew. Holding it close, you remember the teaching of impermanence. This bloom was brilliant just moments ago, and now it drifts in your palm, beautiful, because it must soon fade. Standing, you let the blossom slip from your fingers and watch as it floats away, carried by hidden currents. As it drifts into shadow, you offer yourself one final reflection for now. What remains when every fleeting moment becomes part of the quiet depths? In the hush that follows, you stand embraced by the pond's mirror, whole, present, and unbroken. A soft warmth settles over the world as the sun rises fully, painting the sky in tender hues of rose and gold. You continue along the pond's edge, feet brushing moss and dew in quiet rhythm. Each step carries the memory of night's teachings: impermanence, emptiness, interbeing, woven into the light that now surrounds you. Ahead, a narrow wooden walkway leads into a grove of magnolia trees, blossoms opening like quiet exhalations. You step beneath their boughs, petals brushing your shoulders, and pause to breathe deeply. The fragrance is rich and fleeting, a fragrant teaching reminding you that beauty lives fully only in its passing. You gather a single magnolia blossom in your hand, marveling at its soft weight, then release it to drift on a gentle breeze, trusting the air to carry its grace onward. Beyond the magnolias, the path dips into a shaded dell, where a hammock of woven vines hangs between two sturdy oaks. You rest there, swaying gently above a carpet of ferns, and let the sway lull your mind into open stillness. In the medicine of motion, You perceive the teaching of right effort balanced with ease. To move too quickly is to miss the subtleties of presence, yet to remain still can become stagnant without the gentle stir of life's currents. From your vantage point, shafts of sunlight pierce the canopy, illuminating motes of dust that dance like tiny lanterns. You trace their dance with your gaze until you realize they mirror your thoughts, tiny sparks of awareness flickering, then fading into the vast space behind your eyes. You whisper softly, "I rest in the simplicity of this moment," and feel the truth of those words settle into every cell. When you rise from the hammock, the grove opens onto a terraced hillside where stone steps descend through terraces of scented herbs, rosemary, thyme, and mint, each plant offering its quiet medicine. You pause to crush a leaf beneath your thumb, inhaling its aromatic gift, and taste the teaching of generosity. Earth gives, freely inviting you to receive without hesitation or concern for repayment. At the foot of the terraces, a low pavilion shaded by wisteria offers a final place to sit. You settle on its wooden floor, back against a carved pillar, and close your eyes. As the morning light dances on the petals overhead, you let your attention rest on the gentle hum of life, waking all around you, the distant call of birds, the soft rustle of leaves, the breath in your chest. In their harmony, you discover the teaching of non-duality. Each sound and silence belong to the same song. You turn your awareness inward, feeling the steady beat of your heart beneath your hand. In that tender contact, you ask, "Who am I?" when all forms and sounds dissolve into pure presence. And in the silence that follows, you touch the answer, an abiding stillness, vast as sky, gentle as dawn's first light, carrying you onward into the seamless journey of life. You rise from the pavilion as sunlight ripens in the sky, carrying with it the soft chorus of one's own heart and the world's awakening song. You step onto the moss-lined path again, where dew has begun to evaporate in spirals of warmth. Each inhalation draws in the morning's clarity. Each exhale releases what no longer serves. Here, you touch the teaching of right livelihood, how every action, however simple, can be an offering when carried out with full presence. The trail winds through a field of tall grasses whose seed heads shimmer like fields of golden dust. You reach out and brush your fingertips along their tops, feeling the fine hairs whisper beneath your touch. In that gentle caress, you perceive the metaphor of the empty cup. The grasses bend without breaking, yielding to wind and returning upright when the breeze has passed. You bend with life's currents, neither resisting nor clinging, and discover ease in your own flexibility. Ahead, a low stone wall marks the boundary of a quiet orchard where peaches hang ripe on low-hanging branches. You pick a single fruit, its skin warm and fragrant against your palm, and draw in its sweet scent. As you take a measured bite, juices linger on your tongue, simple nourishment, pure and direct. In this act of mindful eating, you taste the teaching of interbeing anew. Sun and rain root and branch earth in hand converge in this one perfect moment of flavor. You stroll deeper into the orchard, the peach pit cradled in your pocket like a hidden treasure. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves overhead, and you pause beneath a bough, heavy with blossoms of green. You lift your gaze and ask softly, when all that nourishes becomes part of you, where does giving end and receiving begin? The question floats between leaf and light, inviting a stillness in which question and answer dissolve into the single act of being here, whole awake and at peace. Soft sunlight warms the orchard as you leave the peach grove and follow a hidden track that curves toward a distant ridge. Each step carries you upward, the earth, firm beneath your bare feet, reminding you of the teaching of right effort, steady, mindful, and tempered by ease. Along the way, you pause to rest your palm against a gnarled olive tree, its silver leaves shimmering like tears of light. In their gentle tremor, you sense the lesson of interbeing earth and sky seed, and leaf you, and tree all breathing together in silent communion. At the ridge's crest, you find a simple bench carved from a single stone. You sit facing the valley below, its rolling fields glowing gold in the late morning sun. A lone hawk circles overhead, drifting on invisible currents, its cry echoing like a question in the still air. You follow its arc with your gaze and ask yourself, what freedom arises when you trust the currents of life? In the silence that follows you, rest in the answer, carried on the breeze, limitless space within and around you. After a long, nourishing pause, you rise and descend the ridge into a meadow where wildflowers sway in quiet rhythm. You step into their sea of color, pinks, purples, and whites, and feel their delicate petals brush your legs, like gentle reminders of impermanence. Bending, you gather a small bouquet of blooms, arranging them in your cupped hands. In their soft weight, you hold the teaching of no self. These flowers are neither solely you, nor solely the meadow, but a living gesture of beauty beyond ownership. Carrying the blossoms, you wander toward a secluded glade where a clear spring bubbles up between mossy stones. You kneel beside it and cup the water in your hands, letting it flow over your fingers in cool, trembling streams. As you drink, you taste clarity itself, pure and unadorned. Setting the blossoms upon a flat rock beside you, you invite yourself to reflect what clarity remains when all layers fall away. In that quiet moment, you rest fully in the simple gift of presence, neither here nor there, only here, only now. A gentle warmth lifts you from the spring's edge as you rise and follow a narrow forest trail that winds beneath a canopy of maples, just turning gold with the season's promise. Each step stirs a carpet of fallen leaves, crimson amber cinnamon, reminding you of impermanence. Beauty ripens falls and nourishes the earth that gave it life. You pause to cradle a single leaf in your palm, studying its veins like hidden rivers. Then let it drift down to join its fallen kin, asking softly, what nourishment arises when everything gives itself away? Further along, the path opens onto a small clearing where a weathered wooden wheel leans against an oak. Its spoked rim, once turned by unseen hands, now stands still silent, witness to cycles of turning and rest. You place your hand on the cool wood and sense the teaching of dependent origination. The wheel's stillness exists only because of the countless turns that came before, just as your own calm is born from the flow of breath and thought. With mindful care, you run your fingers along each spoke, then release the wheel back to its quiet vigil. Beyond the wheel, a shallow brook beckons its clear water, tumbling over stones, polished smooth by time's gentle persistence. You step into the stream letting its cool current flow around your ankles, carrying away any last clinging thoughts. As you watch the water swirl, you perceive the metaphor of the empty cup. The stream welcomes every pebble leaf and insect without resistance, then carries them onward in effortless release. You lean close and whisper into the flow. How do you remain open when everything passes through you? In the brook's soft murmur, you rest your own mind, mirroring its gentle, unending flow. You step out of the brook's gentle flow and follow a moss-carpeted trail that winds upward through a stand of birch trees, their pale trunks glowing softly in the filtered sunlight. Each inhalation carries the crisp scent of bark and leaf, reminding you of the teaching of right mindfulness, attending fully to what is before you without drifting into memory or anticipation. As you ascend, the forest floor opens onto a natural rock ledge overlooking a valley quilted in shades of green. You settle at its edge, legs dangling over the precipice, and watch as mist rises from the valley floor like slow breaths. In that rising and fading, you perceive impermanence unfolding on a grand scale, the land itself, teaching you how all things shift in silent rhythm. A gentle breeze lifts a single plume of grass from below and sends it swirling upward before settling again. You reach out and catch it, its fine hairs tickling your palm. Holding it close, you feel the lesson of interbeing. This blade was nourished by soil rain, sun, and unseen roots, just as your calm arises from countless unseen moments of practice. You lay the plume across your open palm and let it drift away on a passing gust. Rising, you continue along the ledge until you come to a pine stump charred at its center, a testament to a fire that once burned here. Green shoots now emerge from the scorched wood, tender life rising from ruin. You kneel and press your fingertips into the new growth, sensing the teaching of resilience. Even from ashes, compassion and wisdom can bloom anew. You rest in gratitude for this reminder that every end holds the seed of fresh beginning. Beyond the stump, the path narrows and descends into a pocket of forest where shafts of light illuminate a circle of toadstools. You crouch beside them, marveling at their delicate forms, and trace the curve of a single cap with your fingertip. In their quiet community, you taste the teaching of dependent origination, each fungus nourished by fallen leaves, by decay, by the forest's hidden alchemy. You bow your head to honor their subtle wisdom. As you stand, you notice a narrow stone stair carved into the hillside, worn smooth by countless travelers. You step upon the first stair and feel its cool solidity beneath your foot. With each deliberate ascent, you repeat inwardly, I rise with presence. Step by step, breath by breath, you climb until the trees thin, and you emerge onto a high ridge crowned by a solitary stone lantern. You approach the lantern and touch its smooth surface, cold to the warmth of your hand. Inside, a tiny flame still flickers, fed by a single wick. You kneel and cup your hands around the light as though sheltering a fragile hope. In its glow, you sense the culmination of all teachings, impermanence and endurance, emptiness and form-giving and receiving effort and ease, all woven into this single flicker that both rises and falls in perfect harmony with your own breath. You bow deeply, offering your silent gratitude, and step back into the unfolding journey, carrying that steady flame within you. A gentle hush follows your departure from the lantern, and you find the path descending into a quiet hollow, where a carpet of soft moss cushions every step. The air here hums with the scent of cedar and damp earth, teaching you the interweaving of breath and ground, each inhalation rooting you deeper into presence. The trail curves beneath a canopy of ancient oaks, their broad leaves filtering slanted beams of light that dance on the forest floor. You follow one shimmering patch until it leads you to a circle of low stones, each inscribed with a single character: compassion, equanimity, joy, freedom. You settle in the center, back straight, and let your awareness drift to each word, in turn tasting its meaning as though it were honey on your tongue. In their quiet chorus, you touch the teaching of the 6 perfections gifts offered to the world and to yourself in equal measure. Rising, you move toward a shallow stream where smooth stones create a natural path across the water. You step from rock to rock, feeling the cool current swirl around your ankles. Each crossing becomes a meditation on right action, meeting obstacles not by force, but by discovering the stones that already lie beneath the surface. When you reach the far bank, you pause to brush your palm against a stone's worn edge and feel its centuries of travelers echoing through your fingertips. Beyond the stream, a sloping meadow opens before you, sprinkled with daisies nodding in the breeze. You lie among them, spreading your arms wide as though embracing the sky. Petals brush your cheeks, their simplicity reminding you of the empty cup, receptive, open, ready for whatever arises. You close your eyes and allow the daisy's gentle weight to anchor you in stillness. A distant bell tolls its low resonance, vibrating through the ground and into your bones. You rise and follow its call across the meadow, stepping lightly through grasses that whisper beneath your feet. Each echo carries the teaching of dependent origination sound, rippling outward, touching distant spaces, then returning to silence as if it were never separate from stillness itself. The bell leads you to a low pavilion, draped in lanterns, now alight with morning's first flame. You enter and sit on the polished wood floor, arms resting gently on your knees. In the warm glow, you offer yourself one quiet question. When every light is kindled and every shadow dissolves what remains, and in the tender hush between thought and answer, you rest, carried onward by the unfolding story of presence. A soft breeze stirs the lanterns overhead as you rise from the pavilion's polished floor, carrying their glow within your mind. You step back into the meadow, each blade of grass brushing your ankles like a gentle benediction. Ahead, a narrow boardwalk leads into a grove of slender willows whose branches dip into a quiet brook. You follow the path, feeling the wood's grain beneath your feet, steady, textured, alive, reminding you of right mindfulness in every step. At the water's edge, you find a moss-lined stepping stone half submerged in the flow. You pause and watch as the current parts around it, then closes seamlessly behind. In that subtle dance, you taste the teaching of non-duality. Separation is only a thought, and the world moves as one continuum of becoming. You place your foot on the stone and cross, inhaling the cool mist rising from the brook. On the far bank, a single lotus floats in a mirror-still pool. Its pristine petals open unhurriedly, inviting your gaze. You kneel beside the water and extend a finger to touch the surface. Tiny ripples circle outward, then give way to perfect calm. In that moment, you embody both teacher and student form, and emptiness coexisting in silent harmony. Standing, you follow a meandering path into a sunlit clearing, where a low altar holds a simple bowl of water and a single green leaf. You cup your hands around the bowl and lift it, tasting the pure coolness, before releasing the water back to the earth. The leaf drifts to the ground, returning to soil without fanfare. You smell the crisp scent of new life and ask yourself, when giving and receiving become one, what remains? You carry that question with you as you step beyond the clearing, each breath a lantern lighting the next moment of the journey. A soft hush greets you as you leave the clearing, the world holding its breath in the gentle light of morning. You follow a winding trail beneath towering cedars, their needles dripping with dew that scatters like tiny lanterns across your path. Each drop glints and fades, teaching the unity of brilliance and loss, how every flash of radiance returns to silence. Ahead, you discover a low wooden gate, its lintel carved with the character Wu No Thing. You pass beneath without hesitation, stepping into a courtyard paved with smooth river stones. A solitary bell hangs at its center, waiting in stillness. You lift the mallet and strike the rim, once letting the clear note resonate through your chest before fading into the air. In that ringing, you taste the circle of sound and silence form and emptiness entwined. You move to the bell's base and kneel on the cool stone floor. With each breath, you listen to the echo that lingers, no owner, no boundary, simply vibration returning to itself. You ask softly, when every sound dissolves, what remains? And in the space that follows, you touch the boundless calm beneath all movement. Rising, you follow a narrow corridor lined with silent lanterns until you emerge into a fragrant garden of blossoming plum trees. Petals drift down like snow, settling on the earth in delicate patterns. You bow to the blossoms, honoring their brief perfection, and feel the teaching of impermanence pulse through every petal. To live fully is to shine brilliantly, even if only for a moment. Gathering a single petal, you hold it to your lips and taste its sweetness before letting it flutter away. You close your eyes and breathe in the fragrance, inhaling the promise of new beginnings carried on the wind. Then you open your gaze to the path ahead, aware that each step forward is both an ending and a beginning, woven together in the seamless journey of presence. You step away from the plum grove petals, drifting like soft rain around your feet, and follow a moss-lined path that curves beneath a canopy of maples now touched by early autumn's flame. Each breath draws in the crisp scent of turning leaves, reminding you of impermanence's gentle invitation to let go. The trail leads to a quiet glade where a single stone bench sits beside a shallow pool fed by a trickling spring. You settle onto the bench and gaze into the water's glassy surface, watching as fallen leaves float across its mirror, then sink into the depths. In their passage, you taste the teaching of dependent origination, each leaf's journey shaped by wind, tree, water, and time, none moving alone, all part of one unfolding stream. A soft breeze stirs the surface, and you catch a ripple that transforms the pool's calm into dancing light. You lean forward, fingertips barely skimming the water, and feel the coolness spread through your palms. In that touch, you meet the teaching of non-duality. Your skin, the water, the air, all aspects of the same living moment. Rising, you follow the spring's course uphill until it emerges beneath a weathered stone arch inscribed with the phrase, "Return to Source." You pause beneath the arch place, one hand on its cool surface, and bow your head in quiet gratitude for the journey. With a final inhale, you step through carrying the pool's reflection in your heart and the spring song on your breath as the seamless path of presence carries you forward. Soft light filters through the arch and leads you into a hidden glade where a quiet koi pond ripples with gentle life. You step to its edge, watching the fish glide beneath emerald lilies, whose pads drift like silent boats. In their steady motion, you discover the teaching of continuous practice change unfolds in patient currents, not sudden bursts, guiding every living being forward in grace. A narrow boardwalk arcs above the water, worn smooth by countless footsteps. You follow its curve until you reach a simple wooden platform where a stone caster, a tsukubai, fills a carved basin with fresh spring water. You kneel and lift the ladle pouring water over your hands 3 times, each flow a cleansing of body, speech, and mind. In this ritual, you taste the teaching of purification, release what weighs you down, so you may move through the world with clarity and kindness. Rising, you tread back along the boardwalk to a grove of Japanese maples ablaze in autumn's first colors. Beneath their fiery canopy lies a single stone lantern, its carved surface modeled by moss and time. You press your hand against the cool stone and sense the teaching of endurance. Even as seasons turn light, endures within every heart willing to open. You settle beside the lantern and close your eyes, inhaling the crisp scent of leaves and water. In the pause between breath and breath, you offer yourself one gentle question to carry onward. When every surface is touched by change, where does unchanging peace abide? And in that silent moment, you rest held by the calm beneath all transformation. The world feels hushed as you rise from the lantern's glow, footsteps soft on the wooden boardwalk that leads you into a grove of bamboo. Light filters through the stalks in green gold shafts, each beam a lesson in impermanence, how every ray dances upon leaves before fading into shade. You pause and press your palm against a tall stalk, feeling its smooth surface hum with living strength. In that contact, you sense the teaching of right view, to see the vitality underlying stillness and the stillness within all vitality. You weave your way deeper, the bamboo arching overhead like the ribs of a great cave. Leaves rustle in a silent song, and you follow their whisper to a small clearing where a flat stone bears a shallow indentation filled with rainwater. You kneel and cup the basin, bringing its cool content to your face. The reflected bamboo sways with each drop that falls from your fingertips, a subtle Zen metaphor. Thought arises, reflects the world, then dissolves, returning to clarity. Setting the stone bowl aside, you rise and continue along a narrow earthen path. A gentle breeze carries the scent of distant pines as you emerge onto a mossy knoll crowned by a single ancient cedar. Its trunk is wide and knotted roots spiraling like silent sutras across the ground. You lean your back against the cedar's base, closing your eyes and letting its patient presence seep into your bones. In that communion, you touch the teaching of interbeing. You are both separate and inseparable from this tree, this earth, this breath of wind. From this stillness, you open your senses to the forest's choir, the faint drip of unseen water, the distant rustle of small creatures, your own heartbeat echoing through bark and moss. You offer yourself a whispered question. When all voices blend into one refrain, where does the listener abide? And in that silent between, you discover the answer, presence itself, as vast and intimate as the space between two bamboo stalks. You leave the cedar's embrace and follow a narrow trail that winds upward toward a distant temple roof, its tiles catching the afternoon light like dark embers. Each step echoes with the teaching of right effort, deliberate, unhurried, and always mindful of the next footfall. As you approach, lanterns lining the path stir in the breeze, their unlit forms reminding you that readiness carries possibility even before flame appears. At the temple's threshold, you pause and bow, feeling the cool stone beneath your palms. Inside, a circle of cushions awaits in silent invitation. You settle onto one, sitting tall, yet relaxed, and close your eyes. In the stillness of the hall, you hear the chorus of distant life, the rustle of wind through bamboo, the faint hum of cicadas beyond the walls, your own breath moving like tide in your chest. Each sound and silence becomes a silent offering, weaving together the teaching of dependent origination as melody and rest. After a long pause, you rise and step outside into a courtyard where an ancient Bodhi tree stands, its heart-shaped leaves whispering overhead. Under its boughs, a low basin of water holds floating petals from earlier blossoms. You kneel, lift a single leaf from the water, and let its shape rest against your palm, fragile yet whole. In its curve, you sense the teaching of emptiness form born, of boundless space, and space giving shape to every form. Following the tree's shade, you find a narrow corridor that leads to a secluded tea room. Sliding the bamboo screen aside, you enter a world of quiet precision. A single teapot, 2 cups a tray of polished wood. The host, a silent attendant, pours boiling water over leaves in graceful arcs, each movement a living sutra. You receive the cup with both hands, bowing your head in gratitude. As you sip, you taste not only the tea's earthy sweetness, but the teachings of generosity and gratitude infused in every drop. Finished, you leave the pavilion and step back onto the path that circles the temple grounds. You pause at a stone basin fed by a trickling spout, cupping water to your face and wrists in a slow ritual of cleansing. Each pour washes away the last traces of effort, reminding you of the teaching of non-attachment. Even this ritual passes, yet its clarity remains within your bones. You continue along the outer wall, moss and lichen painting soft patterns on ancient bricks. A single bird alights upon a nearby tile, watching you with calm curiosity before taking flight again. You follow its upward arc, with a silent question. When all barriers fall away, what horizon remains? The answer rises in the wind's quiet lift, carrying you onward into the unending journey of presence. You follow the bird's flight until it vanishes behind a grove of flowering quince, their blossoms like pale embers glowing against dark branches. Beneath them, a narrow stream burbles through smooth stones, each note a gentle sutra carried on the wind. You kneel at the water's edge and let your fingertips graze the surface, sending concentric circles that expand into stillness. In that moment, you taste the teaching of dependent origination anew, every ripple born of cause, flowing seamlessly into effect, and all returning to the silent heart of the pond. Rising, you step onto a small stone bridge where moss sprouts between ancient seams. You lean on its railing, inhaling the mingled scent of quince and wet stone, and ask yourself, what clarity emerges when thought dissolves into silence? The answer comes not as words, but as a soft widening in your chest, a spacious calm that embraces question and answer as one. Across the bridge, a path of flagstones leads into a garden of sculpted pines and raked gravel. The surface of the gravel lies like a painted sea patterns etched by unseen hands into waves of white. You kneel, and with a slender rake provided at the edge, trace your own wave beside the others, each line deliberate, each pause an invitation to reflect on impermanence. The design will be swept away, yet each stroke honors the present moment. When you finish, you stand back and bow to the empty pattern, a silent offering of devotion to simplicity itself. Sunlight filters through the pine canopy, illuminating a low pavilion where hanging scrolls depict cranes and bamboo and ink washes. You enter and settle on its cool wooden floor, noticing a single cushion placed before a low altar. On it rests a single unlit candle and a bowl of morning glories. You lift a blossom and let the dew-filled petals brush your lips, a tender act of mindfulness that reveals the teaching of generosity, beauty offered without expectation, and the heart open to receive its gift. Setting the blossom aside, you reach for the candle and strike a match. As flame leaps to wick, you watch the glow spread flickering against the dark wood. In that gentle light, you perceive the teaching of skillful means a simple act adapted to this sacred space, transforming shadow into warmth. You inhale deeply, allowing both flame and fragrance to settle into your bones. Leaving the pavilion, you step onto a winding path that ascends toward a distant hill, crowned by ancient ruins. Each stone underfoot carries the memory of countless pilgrims teaching you about no self. Your footsteps join theirs in the ever-flowing stream of time. You climb steadily, heart attuned to the rhythm of breath and earth carrying the lantern of awareness within you. As day unfolds into its quiet perfection, you push onward along the ancient stones, each step echoing with the stories of those who came before. The ruins rise into view, moss-clad pillars and crumbled walls silhouetted against the deepening blue of the late morning sky. You pause at the threshold, where ivy threads through cracks in the marble nature, weaving ruin and rebirth into one tapestry. Here you touch the teaching of impermanence. Even the mightiest structures return to earth, and from their decay, new life springs. Stepping among the fallen stones, You notice tiny ferns unfurling in shaded crevices, their delicate fronds shaped by sunlight's filtered grace. You crouch and brush your fingertips against one young shoot, feeling its tender strength. In that simple contact, you sense interbeing, rock, rain seed, and sun, all conspire to coax life into the heart of ruin. You continue deeper into the complex until you find a small alcove where a single stone basin holds still water. A beam of light filters through an opening above, illuminating the basin like a sacred jewel. Kneeling, you lean over and watch the water surface, recalling the teaching of dependent origination. Each drop here gathered from sky and stone, each ripple returning to the endless source. Rising, you follow a narrow stair carved into the bedrock. With each ascent, you feel the weight of both gravity and grace effort, balanced by the promise of the view above. At the top, you emerge onto a stone terrace overlooking the valley you traversed in darkness. Below, the patchwork fields and winding river glint in the sun, and beyond them, the distant peaks rise like silent witnesses. In this panorama, you perceive no self. The valley's vastness belongs no more to you than to the clouds drifting overhead. You lean against the crumbling balustrade, inhaling the crisp air. A flock of birds arcs across the sky, their formation shifting like living ink in a scroll. You ask softly, when every form moves, without pause, what remains constant? In that moment, the ruins around you answer. The silent earth endures, shaped and reshaped by time, holding memory without clinging. Leaving the terrace, you follow a channel of stone that leads to the outer wall. There, small wildflowers, violet and white, bloom in the cracks, their quiet beauty a final whisper of resilience. You gather one blossom between thumb and forefinger, feeling its lightness in the palm of your hand. In that gesture, you touch the teaching of compassion. Even in hardship, the world offers you its tenderness, if only you remain open to receive. You step beyond the wall and descend once more into open daylight, carrying the lessons of ruined resilience and remembrance within your heart. Each breath you draw is at once ancient and new, a living bridge between the night's still mysteries and the unfolding journey ahead, seamless, endless, and wholly your own. A soft breeze carries the scent of wild thyme and sun-warmed stone as you leave the ancient terrace behind, guiding your steps along a narrow path carved into the hillside. Beneath your feet, crushed gravel yields to smooth flagstones, each one worn by centuries of pilgrim feet. Each one a silent echo of hope and devotion. In this gentle procession, you touch the teaching of right effort, steady persistence, carried by mindful attention, not force. The path bends and leads you into a shaded grove, where a quiet spring emerges from a mossy cleft in the rock. You stoop and cup the water in your palms, bringing its cool clarity to your lips and feeling its life-giving strength settle into your chest. You pour the remainder over your forearms, washing away any residue of worry, allowing the teaching of purification to flow through you, body, speech, and mind renewed by this simple ritual. Rising, you follow a canopy of olive trees, whose silvery leaves shimmer in the afternoon light. You pause beneath one ancient trunk, its gnarled bark telling stories of sun and storm harvest and rest. You press your hand into a hollow where birds once nested and feel the quiet pulse of life still lingering in the wood. In that moment, you meet the teaching of interbeing tree and bird, you and earth, all woven into a single tapestry of being. Ahead, the grove opens onto a sunlit terrace where crates of ripe figs lie ready for gathering. You pick one gently, its skin soft and yielding beneath your fingers, and bring it to your lips, tasting sweetness carried from root to branch, from sun to fruit. In this mindful eating, you discover the teaching of gratitude, each bite a gift offered by countless hands of sunlight, soil, and rain. As you continue your descent toward the valley floor, you carry that gift within you, an ever-present lantern of presence guiding every breath, every step into the seamless flow of life's unfolding. You follow the winding path down toward the valley floor, the air warming gently as noon approaches. Wild grasses sway in a silent dance beneath the sun's soft gaze, each blade bending and rising in unspoken harmony. You let your hand drift across their tips, feeling the fine vibrations of life shared between wind and plant, an unbroken dialogue, teaching you right speech. When action aligns with intention, every movement becomes a kind word spoken without sound. At the valley's edge, a quiet river flows broad and slow, its surface glinting like molten light. You slip out of your sandals and step barefoot into the shallows, the cool water swirling around your ankles in playful eddies. Each stone beneath your foot presses upward with a gentle insistence reminding you of the empty cup. Every sensation arises in fullness, then invites release, making space for the next. You follow the riverbank to a cluster of willows leaning over the water's edge. Their branches drape like curtains, and you step beneath them into a hidden cove where a simple wooden bench awaits. You sit and close your eyes, listening to the river's steady murmur, blended with the willow's soft rustle. A living koan, teaching non-duality, sound and silence, movement and stillness, one seamless whole. Opening your eyes, you notice a small boat tethered to a willow root. Without hesitation, you wade in and climb aboard, seating yourself on the flat plank. The current carries you downstream in quiet procession. You lean back, letting the boat drift as the river guides you each turn of the bank, offering new views, sun-dappled pebbles, mossy logs, fluttering birds alighting on overhanging branches. In this gentle voyage, you perceive the teaching of right action surrendered to the flow while remaining fully awake. When the boat brushes the riverbank again, you step ashore beneath an old stone archway covered in climbing roses. Petals drift down, brushing your hair and shoulders like whispered blessings. You pause beneath the blossoms, inhaling their sweet scent, as though tasting compassion itself. The compassion that arises when you meet each moment with a soft heart and an open hand. You continue beyond the arch into a sunlit meadow where soft hills roll toward distant peaks. Here you stand still and close your eyes, letting memory and expectation fall away. In the gentle hush of the world, you rest held by river and rose willow and wind carrying the seamless grace of presence into whatever unfolds next. A gentle slope rises before you, carpeted in soft meadow grass that bends under your weight like a silent welcome. You climb toward a lone cedar perched on the hill's crest, its branches reaching skyward in quiet devotion. Each upward step carries you beyond the valley's hum into a space of still clarity, teaching you right effort, balanced with ease as every movement flows naturally from intention. At the summit, the cedar's canopy offers a panoramic vista, rolling fields, winding river, distant peaks, brushing the clouds. You lean into its weathered trunk and close your eyes, letting the world's expanse dissolve into the vast openness within. In that union of sky and mind, you taste the teaching of non-duality. Horizon and heartbeat merge, and the boundaries you once held begin to blur. Opening your eyes, you turn from the view and notice a narrow trail winding down the far side of the hill. It leads you past a stand of wild lavender, the blossoms nodding in the breeze like silent prayer flags. You pause to crush a sprig between your fingers, inhaling its calming scent as a final gift, reminding you that peace is carried in the simplest offerings of earth and breath. With that gentle benediction, you descend once more into the world below, presence alight within you, like a steady flame, guiding each step of the journey onward. A soft hush greets you as you descend the lavender-scented slope, each footfall a mindful bow to the earth's gentle support. The valley below unfolds in summer's lush green, and you follow a hidden trail that winds into a grove of elder trees whose silvery bark gleams in the mellow light. Beneath their branches, a carpet of fallen blossoms cushions your steps, each pale petal a teaching of impermanence drifting down to nourish the soil in silent generosity. Through the elder grove, you come upon a low stone platform carved with concentric circles that radiate outward like ripples in a still pond. You sit in the center spine, straight, and trace the pattern with your fingertip, feeling its cool surface hum beneath your skin. In that simple contact, you taste the teaching of dependent origination. Each ring arises because of the one before, and together they form a seamless whole that holds space for every moment. When you rise, you follow a narrow wooden beam bridge, spanning a shallow ravine. Beneath you, water glints as it weaves through mossy stones. You pause mid-bridge, leaning on the railing, and bow your head to listen each breath a silent prayer in the symphony of wind through leaves, water's murmur, and your own heart's steady rhythm. In that melody, you perceive the teaching of interbeing. Every sound and silence arises because each supports the other, woven into the same tapestry of now. On the far bank, a single lantern stands unlit atop a stone plinth. You reach out, lift its lid, and behind the glass, find a small cup of oil and an unburned wick. With care, you pour the oil into the reservoir, nestling the wick so it stands ready. Then, striking a flint from your robe's pouch, you spark a flame that catches at the wick, igniting a gentle glow. In that act, you witness the teaching of skillful means, wisdom, brought to form, illuminating darkness without force, guiding you onward with quiet light. Carrying the lantern in your hand, you make your way through a shadowed corridor of bamboo until you emerge into a moonlit courtyard dotted with shallow pools. The lantern's reflection shimmers on each surface like a promise. You pause at the threshold and wonder softly what remains when every light lifts its veil. In the hush that follows, you step forward, your lantern and your own inner flame merging into one unbroken path. You move into the courtyard, each step stirring gentle ripples across the glassy pools. Lantern light glints on the stone edges, tracing paths of illumination that guide you toward a low pavilion at the far side. You enter beneath its wooden eaves and discover an empty stone basin fed by a slender bamboo chute. Water drips into the bowl in measured rhythm, drop, pause, drop, an echo of impermanence, teaching you that every moment arises and dissolves in tender cadence. A single lotus bloom floats at the basin's center, its petals pure and unblemished. You lean forward, cupping water in both hands to bring to your face, then let it cascade back into the bowl, sending soft circles outward. In that gesture, you perceive dependent origination, basin water, lotus, and your own breath, all converging in harmony. You close your eyes, listening to the steady drip, and invite yourself to rest in the space between each drop, where form and emptiness meet as one. Rising, you follow a narrow stone path that threads between the pools, each reflecting a fragment of sky, like shards of memory. Ahead, a grand wooden door stands ajar, revealing a moonlit garden beyond. You step through where a circle of smooth stones encircles a single stone lantern carved with the character He Harmony. You settle within the circle, back straight, and feel the teaching of interbeing stone and skylight and shadow self and world bound together in a living mandala of presence. You bow your head and ask softly, how do you become the harmony you seek? In the hush that follows you, rest wholly in the answer, carried on the breath of night. A soft breeze stirs the lantern's flame as you rise from its circle of harmony, carrying its gentle glow within your heart. You step onto a winding gravel path that ascends through a grove of flowering plums, their blossoms drifting like pale snow in the night air. Each petal's slow descent teaches you impermanence in motion, beauty unfolding and releasing itself without regret. The trail leads you upward to a small terrace where a low stone table holds a single unlit lantern and a bowl of river stones. You settle before it, selecting one smooth stone and turning it over in your palm until its weight becomes familiar. With deliberate care, you nestle the pebble into the lantern's base-fitting form to emptiness and strike a spark against flint. The flame catches, illuminating your face in warm relief. In the act of pairing stone and light, you touch the teaching of skillful means, creative compassion, bringing clarity to darkness. Carrying the lit lantern, you thread through the plum grove until you reach a wooden bridge arching over a quiet stream. Beneath its rafters, lanterns hang unlit, awaiting your flame. One by one, you lift each lantern, place a single stone inside, and rekindle its light, filling the bridge with a row of glowing offerings. As you move, you sense right action, unfolding. Each simple gesture, done with full presence, becomes a pathway of illumination for yourself and others. When the last lantern is lit, you pause at the bridge's crest and look back along its glowing arc, reflecting on cause and effect, how one flame inspires the next, forming a chain of warmth in the cool night. You inhale the floral scent, mingled with river mist, and release it softly, letting awareness flow freely between inner and outer worlds. In that crystalline moment, you rest fully in interbeing, glowing as one lantern among many under the silent arch of stars. A hush falls as you leave the bridge behind the glow of lanterns fading into the distance like guiding stars retreating beyond view. You follow a hidden trail into a grove of ancient cedars, their trunks rising straight and tall into the night sky. Each trunk stands like a silent sentinel, teaching you steadiness in stillness, holding presence without movement, rooted in earth, yet reaching for light. Under the cedars, the path opens onto a small clearing, centered by a weathered stone basin, fed by a slender bamboo spout. Moonlight glints on the rippling water as you approach. You kneel and cup your hands beneath the flow, letting the cool water collect before lifting it to your lips. Its clarity washes over you, reminding you of the teaching of purification. Thoughts cleared, intentions, purified heart opened like this basin to every gift of this moment. Rising, you notice a single cedar cone resting on the basin's rim. You pick it up, feeling its textured scales between your fingers, each a spiral of growth and release. In its form and pattern, you taste the lesson of impermanence, woven with continuity, every stage of life folded within the next, a spiral unfolding without end. You gently place the cone back and watch as a breeze carries it away, spiraling down the path like a whispered teaching. You step into the forest's embrace once more, following faintly glowing mushrooms that line a narrow track. Their bioluminescence pulses softly as though breathing in time with your own. You bend and gently touch one, sensing in its fragile glow the teaching of inner being, life's spark sustained by earth decay darkness, and the gentle warmth of your presence. You lift your gaze to the stars flickering through the canopy, each light no greater or lesser than the glow beneath your hand. Continuing along the trail, you come upon a low wooden bench, carved into the hillside. You settle there and close your eyes, letting the forest's nocturne murmur of wind rustle of needles, soft drip of unseen water wash over you. In this convergence of sounds and silences, you offer one final reflection for now. When forest and self merge in quiet song, where does song begin? And in that tender mystery, you rest, carried onward by every breath, every step, every glow, into the seamless unfolding of this night's journey. A faint path emerges ahead, lit by the soft glow of morning's first lanterns strung between low branches. You follow it into a grove where dew-laden ferns unfurl like emerald fans at dawn. Each frond opens in silent invitation, an image of dependent origination life, unfolding moment by moment without hurry or pause. You bend to brush your fingertips against the feathery leaves, feeling their cool resilience pulse beneath your touch. Beyond the ferns, a moss-covered stone staircase ascends toward a small shrine carved into the hillside. You climb each step mindfully, the stones smooth and forgiving, underfoot, a living metaphor for right effort balanced by ease. At the summit, you find an alcove sheltering a single wooden statue of the Buddha, its face serene in the pale light. Before it, a shallow bowl holds water so still it mirrors the sky. You kneel and pour a ladleful over the statue's upturned hand, watching ripples expand outward until the mirror returns whole and undisturbed. In that gesture, you touch the teaching of no self-action arises and dissolves into the vast sea of being, leaving neither maker nor made. You rise and step back, inhaling the gentle scent of incense drifting from hidden burners. As you turn to descend, a lone cicada calls from a nearby branch, its steady rhythm echoing through the grove. You pause, listening to its song ripple through the morning air, and ask softly, what remains when every note returns to silence? In that tender space between call and echo, you rest, carried onward by the seamless hum of presence itself. You step away from the shrine and follow a narrow trail that winds through a grove of teak and sandalwood, their trunks warm under the burgeoning sunlight. Each inhale brings the heady scent of resin and earth, reminding you that every moment is layered with unseen gifts. You pause beneath a flowering frangipani, whose blossoms strewn on the ground create a fragrant carpet. In their gentle decay, you taste the teaching of impermanence made sweet, how life's loveliness lingers even as it fades. Continuing on the path opens onto a terrace overlooking terraced rice paddies, glistening with irrigation water. You descend a worn stone stair into the fields, barefoot, now feeling cool mud yield beneath your feet, like a soft embrace. Each step grounds you in the teaching of interbeing, earth, water, grain, and your own heartbeat, all converging in this simple act of walking. At the far end of the terraces, a wooden platform shelters a lone gong. You lift the mallet and strike its rim, letting the deep reverberation roll across the paddies like thunder over a calm sea. In the echo, you sense the teaching of no self-sound arises without source, moves without mover, and dissolves into stillness without trace. You sit beside the gong legs folded and close your eyes. In the hush that follows, you ask yourself, when every resonance returns to silence, what remains? And in that radiant quiet, you rest, carried onward by the seamless flow of each breath, each heartbeat, each step. A soft breeze drifts in off the fields as you rise from the gong's shadow, carrying the faint scent of ripening grain. You follow a narrow fenced path that borders the paddies, each post wrapped in strips of white cloth, fluttering like silent prayers. Each flutter reminds you of the teaching of impermanence. Even marks of devotion loosen and fall away, yet the sincerity beneath them endures unseen. At the path's end, a weathered wooden gate stands guarding a grove of tamarind trees. You pass beneath its lintel and find yourself among twisting branches heavy with pods. You reach up and gently crack one open, allowing the tangy scent to brush your senses like a cleansing breath. In that taste, you perceive the teaching of generosity nature, offering its tart sweetness without holding back. Moving deeper shafts of late morning sun slice through the canopy, illuminating a low stone altar draped in woven mats. Upon it lie 3 polished river stones arranged in a line. You settle cross-legged before them, and one by one lift each stone into your palm. Its cool weight grounds you in the now, a living metaphor for right mindfulness awareness held in the palm of presence. Placing each stone back, you bow to the altar, honoring the unbroken line of seekers who have knelt here long before you. Behind the altar, a narrow trail descends into a shaded ravine where a hidden waterfall murmurs behind a curtain of ferns. You step through the green veil and stand before the cascade, feeling its mist cool your skin like gentle benediction. You press your palm against the rock beside the water's flow and ask softly, what remains when every barrier dissolves into the song of water? In that spray-swept hush, you rest carried onward by the endless murmur of presence. You step away from the waterfall's mist and follow a narrow, moss-lined trail that winds upward into a clearing of soft grasses. Here, the world is hushed, as if holding its breath in deference to morning's stillness. You settle into the gentle incline legs folded and let your palms rest lightly on the earth, feeling its steady heartbeat beneath you. In that contact, you sense the teaching of interbeing. Your calm arises from root and rock leaf and light, joining you in silent communion above the canopy parts to reveal a single swan-white cloud drifting across a vast blue sky. You lift your face to the sun's warmth, allowing it to trace patterns across your closed eyelids. In the refuge of inner vision, you taste the teaching of no self-cloud and skylight and shade self and world, their boundaries softening until all that remains is the boundless expanse of presence. Rising, you follow a faint footpath edged with wild thyme and chamomile, their blossoms bowing as you pass. Each fragrant step is an offering of right action, simple kind, and perfectly attuned to the moment. You reach a low stone wall, draped in climbing ivy, its tendrils soft beneath your fingertips. Pausing, you breathe in the herb-laden air and exhale the last traces of effort, surrendering to the gentle slope that leads toward a hidden rose garden. The roses here bloom in pale blush and creamy white petals, unfurling like tender prayers. You brush one between your fingers, feeling its satiny curves and inhaling its sweet, heady fragrance. In that quiet intimacy, you discover the teaching of compassion, beauty offered and received without demand, echoing through every breath and every beating heart. Leaving the roses behind you, step onto a narrow causeway that leads to a tranquil lotus pond. The flowers float serenely on glassy water, their golden centers bright with promise. You kneel at the pond's edge, cupping your hands to catch a single droplet of the pond's cool breath. Lifting it to your lips, you taste clarity itself, pure, unadorned, and healing. Then you let it spill back, sending ripples that dance across the lotus leaves, before settling into stillness once more. In that final moment, you rest fully in the seamless flow of this journey, carried by each teaching, each breath, each whisper of wind, and you walk on, unburdened and awake, into the ever-unfolding mystery of now. A soft radiance blooms on the horizon as you leave the lotus pond behind each breath, drawing in the promise of a new day. You follow a stone-lined path that winds gently upward, bordered by tall reeds whose feathery plumes sway in unison. Each plume bows, and rises like a choir, offering its silent hymn, teaching you right effort, paired with ease effort that flows naturally when guided by presence rather than will. At the crest of the hill, you find a simple wooden bench overlooking a glistening valley carved by time. You settle there back straight and inhale deeply, tasting the crisp air, redolent with earth and distant blossoms. Below, a thin ribbon of river catches the sun's first light, winding through fields that glow like embers. You close your eyes and let the scene fold into memory and breath, touching the teaching of non-duality, inner and outer merging, until only the warmth of this moment remains. Rising, you continue along a narrow ridge where ancient pines lean into the wind needles, whispering secrets of resilience. You press your palm against the rough bark, feeling its living pulse, and sense the teaching of interbeing, how your own steadiness draws strength from root and branch earth and air woven together in quiet communion. Beyond the pines, the trail descends into a sheltered glen, where a small clearing holds a circle of weathered stones. You step into the circle and sit cross-legged, palms resting on your knees, allowing the teachings you have received to settle deep within. In the hush that follows the murmur of grasses, the distant call of birds, the soft thrum of your own heartbeat, you rest fully, carried onward by the seamless flow of presence into whatever unfolds next. A pale ribbon of mist unfurls across the valley as you rise from the circle of stones, tucking the teachings you've gathered like soft lanterns into your heart. You follow a hidden trail that winds through a field of tall goldenrod, its blossoms nodding in gentle agreement with the morning breeze, an unspoken lesson in interbeing, every stalk and petal responding as one chorus to wind's caress. At the edge of the goldenrod, a narrow footbridge spans a serene marsh dotted with water lilies. You step onto its worn planks, each footfall a mindful blessing, and pause at the center to breathe in the world's quiet hymn. Beneath you, the water mirrors sky and reed colors doubling in luminous stillness. You lean forward, tracing a rippled reflection with your gaze until the surface smooths again, reminding you of emptiness. Every disturbance returns to calm whole and unchanged. Crossing the bridge, you find a lone willow whose long branches sweep the marsh's edge like soft curtains. You step beneath its shade and lean your back against its trunk, closing your eyes as its whispering leaves cradle you in gentle song. Here you taste the teaching of no self willow, and you breath and leaf all melding into the same tender sway of being. When you open your eyes, you notice a winding path of river stones leading upward. You follow it as it ascends through a thicket of fern and wild mint, their fragrances mingling in your breath, guiding each inhalation into deeper presence. The path emerges on a high bank overlooking the entire marsh, now gleaming under the sun's full glow. You settle on the grass at the lip of the bank legs, folded, letting the warmth of earth and light soak into your bones, grounding the teachings in your flesh. A soft trill from a hidden wren lifts your gaze to the sky, where clouds drift with effortless grace. You lift your arms, mimicking their slow drift, and inhale as they pass, exhale as they fade, embodying the teaching of impermanence and motion. You whisper inwardly, "All that arises returns to sky," and feel your own thoughts dissolve into the boundless blue. Here, at the threshold of marsh and meadow, breath and being merge in seamless flow. You rest in that unity, carried onward by each whisper of wind, each ripple of water, each breath of life ready to continue the journey of presence, wherever it may lead. A gentle path of sun-warmed earth leads you away from the marsh, winding through a grove of silver birch, whose pale trunks glow like beacons in the afternoon light. Each inhalation draws in the crisp scent of bark and leaf, teaching you the practice of right mindfulness, attending fully to each nuance of sensation without drifting into thought. You follow the birch avenue until it opens onto a quiet meadow, where a lone stag stands beneath a spreading oak. Its antlers reach toward the sky in silent inquiry. You pause, every muscle attuned to its calm presence, and sense the teaching of non-dual awareness observer and observed, united in the hush between heartbeats. The stag lifts its head, sniffs the air, then turns and melts into the grasses as though part of their own dance. Continuing into the meadow, you discover a circle of smooth stones surrounding a small fire pit. Though no flame burns now, the blackened stones still hold warmth and memory. You sit on one back straight and breathe deeply, letting the echoes of past fires ripple through your awareness like distant mantras. In the remembrance, you taste the teaching of impermanence. Heat rises and falls. Flame appears and disappears, yet the lesson of transformation remains. Leaving the fire pit, you tread a narrow path that ascends toward a rocky outcrop. At its summit, you find a stone bench carved with flowing script, "Rest in what is." You settle there and gaze out over rolling hills, the late sun painting them in gold and shadow. In that panorama, you touch the teaching of spaciousness mind, as vast as landscape open to endless horizon without edge. A soft breeze stirs the tall grasses at your feet, carrying the whisper of distant flowers you cannot yet see. You rise and follow that scent down the hillside into a hidden valley where wild lavender and mint grow tangled among mossy stones. You crouch to crush a leaf, inhaling its healing fragrance as a final gift before you continue carrying the seamless quiet of presence within each breath, each step, each unfolding moment. A narrow ribbon of sunlight guides you down into the hidden valley, where fragrant lavender and mint mingle with the cool scent of moss. You move between soft mounds of earth, cushion-like beneath your feet, each inhalation drawing the valley's healing aroma into your lungs. Ahead, a babbling spring emerges from a bed of ferns, tumbling over smooth stones into a crystal pool. You kneel at its edge, cup the water in both hands, and lift it, tasting clarity on your tongue, before letting it spill back in gentle arcs. In that living mirror, you touch the teaching of dependent origination, every drop shaped by rock and root sun and sky flowing onward in perfect harmony. Rising, you follow the spring's course as it weaves through the valley, carrying you to a glade dappled with goldenrod and foxglove. Here, shafts of light pierce the canopy in dancing ribbons, illuminating a simple wooden bench nestled among blossoms. You settle there back against the trunk of a birch and let your awareness rest on the play of light and shadow. In that quiet display, you taste the teaching of impermanence made luminous. Every brightness gives way, only to return again in new pattern. A distant call draws your gaze to a small family of deer grazing at the glade's edge. Their gentle movements, head bent, tail flicking hooves, brushing the earth, become a living koan of right action motion, born of need and grace, responding to each moment with unforced ease. You close your eyes and imagine walking as they do, softly, attentively, fully present in the rhythm of breath and step. When you open your eyes, the deer have melted back into the forest's embrace, leaving the glade hushed once more. You rise and follow a worn footpath, ascending toward a high ridge rimmed with ancient pines. Each step feels like a prayer in motion, steady, purposeful, yet free of effort. At the ridge's crest, you pause to behold a panorama of rolling hills and distant peaks, painted in the warm glow of late afternoon. In that sweeping vista, you touch the teaching of spaciousness mind, as boundless as the landscape patiently holding each sight, each sound, each breath as it unfolds. With a final inhale of the valley's sweet perfume, you turn from the view and begin your descent, carrying the quiet grace of every teaching within your own steady heart. Soft twilight gathers in the western sky as you descend the ridge, each step drawing you back toward the valley's embrace. The trail winds through a stand of olive trees, their silvery leaves shimmering like living mirrors of the fading light. You pause beneath one ancient gnarled trunk and place your hand against its bark, feeling the patient pulse of seasons held within. In that silent communion, you taste the teaching of interbeing your life woven into the tapestry of earth, leaf, and sun. Beyond the olives, the path opens onto a terraced vineyard where rows of grapevines lean heavy with fruit. You reach out to touch a cluster of ripening grapes, their plump skins warm from the day's sun. Bringing one to your lips, you taste sweet nectar mingled with earth's generosity. In this moment of mindful tasting, you rest in the teaching of dependent origination vine and root rain, and warmth hand and fruit all converging in this single flavor. Continuing between the vines, you come to a low stone wall draped in trailing rosemary and thyme. You brush your fingers along the fragrant sprigs, inhaling their herbal perfume as a living koan aroma and memory body and breath, one seamless dance of presence. You lean against the wall, closing your eyes to the world, and let the scent carry you inward until thought melts into calm. When you open your eyes, the sky is painted in lavender and rose. You follow a narrow footpath that leads to a sunlit clearing where a simple wooden table stands beneath a spreading oak. On the table rests a single earthenware cup filled with fresh spring water and a small dish of olives glistening with oil. You sit and lift the cup, savoring each sip as cool clarity washes through you. With each taste, you honor the teaching of generosity, earth offering sustenance you receiving with gratitude and simplicity. Rising from the table, you walk beneath the oak's dappled shade toward a circle of standing stones set into the grass. You step into the circle and stand at its center leg's grounded spine aligned with sky. The stones hum with silent power, ancient witnesses to countless seekers. You close your eyes and breathe, letting the wind's soft murmur enfold you in its timeless rhythm. In this sacred stillness, you offer one final reflection for now. When all forms stand silent, where does the heart find its voice? And in the space between question and answer, you rest fully held by earth, air, water, and flame, carried onward into the seamless journey of presence. A hush settles over the standing stones as you step away, the field's gentle hum drawing you toward a low grove of fig trees, heavy with ripened fruit. You wander beneath their broad leaves, sunlight filtering in shifting patterns that dance across your shoulders, an unspoken teaching of impermanence in every flicker of light and shade. You reach up, pluck a single fig, and let its warmth rest in your palm before bringing it to your lips. Its sweetness unfolds slowly, each flavor a living reminder of dependent origination soil, root rain sun, and hand converging in this one perfect taste. With the fig's memory lingering on your tongue, you continue along a narrow earthen track that winds through a meadow of wild poppies swaying like gentle flames. One by one, you brush your fingertips along their silky petals, noticing how easily they yield and yet lift again toward the sky, an elegant koan of right effort balanced by surrender. You pause amidst the sea of red and orange, inhale their soft perfume, and exhale any last clinging thoughts into the breeze. Ahead, the path climbs toward a tranquil pool fed by unseen springs. Beneath its glassy surface lie smooth, pale stones. You kneel at the water's edge and let your fingertips hover above, stirring the mirror just enough to catch the morning sun in dancing ripples. In that quiet disturbance, you discern the teaching of no self-reflection, and reflected merge, yet neither claims the other, and both dissolve back into stillness. Rising, you follow a bed of river stones that leads to a wooden footbridge arched over a narrow channel. You step onto its planks and feel their age-worn texture underfoot, each groove a testament to countless barefoot pilgrims. Midway across, you lean on the railing and watch the water flow beneath, carrying petals and pebbles onward. In the soft murmur of the current, you touch the teaching of interbeing all that flows. Here joins the greater river of life, and you too are carried gently along its endless course. Beyond the bridge lies a quiet terrace, where lanterns hang unlit and cushions await. You settle on one back straight and close your eyes as the valley below begins to stir with early light. In the tender space between darkness and dawn, you rest breath by breath, held by every teaching, every whisper of wind, and every heartbeat that guides you onward into the seamless unfolding of presence. A soft light settles in your chest as the world around you stirs to morning's gentle rhythm. You sit in the quiet space where night's teachings have unfolded, feeling the warmth of each lesson pulse like a silent drum beneath your ribs. Your mind moves with the steady tide of breath, inhale and exhale, rising and falling, carrying you deeper into this stillness that holds all journeys. You sense the echoes of impermanence in every fading star, each moment passing like petals on a stream, yet you rest untouched by their departure. In the folds of emptiness, you discover form's true freedom to arise, to shine, and to return without regret. The steady murmur of life bird song rustling leaves distant laughter becomes a sacred chorus that sings you back into presence, each note weaving you into the tapestry of being. Here you taste the sweetness of dependent origination. Every sensation, every thought, every heartbeat arises because all conditions converge in this perfect alignment of now. You breathe gratitude for every unseen thread, earth and water, sun and moon, that has carried you through the night and into this dawn. Compassion blooms in your heart as naturally as lotus petals open to first light, reminding you that kindness flows most deeply when given without measure. In this tender pause, you feel the edge of self melt into the vast expanse of awareness. Boundaries soften, and you become the silent watcher of breath and world, neither separate nor entangled, simply here, wholly present. With each breath, you release the weight of all that came before and all that lies ahead, resting fully in this boundless now, where nothing is lost and everything is whole. And if you're still awake, that's okay too. Some mornings, just lying still and breathing softly is enough to return home to yourself